rather walk 10 minutes, go to Sainsbury's, buy a bag of 5 donuts for 50p
For 50p,
because they're
yeah,
as
and
good
they'll still be warm.
and they're still warm
Yeah.
and they've got warm jam in the middle
Oh God, yeah.
and they're nicer.
They're
Yeah.
busy talking about donuts.
We are donuts are the best.
Donuts rule the world.
Although I'm not eating bread at the moment, so
You're not
damn
eating bread.
you. I've cut out bread out of my diet. Have you seen a grown man cry before?
Yes,
Come
right
around
now.
when Lisa goes, "Would you like some toast?" I'm like,
I'll just mute them and say hello and welcome to this week's Mithras adventure. Yeah, we are here. Oh, they stopped talking now. I'll unmute them. Oh, they can talk now. Yes, we are here live from an undisclosed portion of the world that we're not actually allowed to tell you about. We're not actually in 5 different rooms. We're all actually in the same room with the screens behind us, and that's it. We're actually I could reach out and touch each and every one of these fellow RPGs.
Hey.
not since restraining order.
So welcome back. Yes, we left the party in a rather interesting situation. But before I give a brief synopsis of that and say where they're up to, I'm going to allow the players, as always, to introduce who they are and who they are playing tonight. And we're going to start off, as ever, with Mr. Chuggerwugger.
Hi guys, I'm Chugwugger. I play Gulliver, the apprentice sorcerer. He is a member of the Order of the Kraken, which is one of the 4 sorcery orders on Odis, which is where we're currently adventuring. His particular order specializes in spells involving communication, transportation, and teleportation, although he does have a few other spells up his sleeve, which have been taught to him by his former master, Master Healy. Now, as a sorcerer, Gulliver has the ability to shape his spells to suit his needs. He can change the range, the magnitude, number of targets that these spells will affect, or he can even combine several different spells into one cast. The more things he alters, though, the longer it takes him to actually cast a spell for it to come off. So he does try to limit what he does. And I shall pass on to our friend across the pond, Mr. Pickles.
Just before Mr. Pickles says anything, sorry, I was just interested. What happens if Gulliver combines teleportation with summon?
It's actually very interesting.
Just to think this sort of like go backwards and forwards.
Yeah, it does nothing happens.
Nothing happens at all, yeah. Anyway, yes, Mr. Pickles, go for it.
I am Mr. Pickles, across the pond in the room. I play Bartleby Fumus, who is the ex-bard with the broken hands, who is now a theist of Amriel, the light moon goddess. He's able to channel powers through her, such as healing, being rid of poison and disease, lighting candles, and helping out his cohorts. Bartleby is also kind of a semi... I want to say I'm a semi-face of the group because I feel that Hazra's the leader right now. But Bartleby is a friendly, helpful guy who also helps out. I think I have a job from one of the prior games for Glun, helping out Glun of
yeah, that's right.
Thorson. And that's basically Bartleby. I'm going to throw the microphone on over to Medivac at this point.
Why, thank you, Mr. Bartleby. Hi, everybody. I'm Medivac. I play Hazra Khan. He's a nomad scout of the group. He's also, at the moment, taking more of an active role in guiding the group as we're out and about in the wilderness. He's pretty much naked at the moment because he's lost all his armor. So he's running around in a loincloth and just the bare minimals, really, or the bare minimum even. He's handy with a spear and a scimitar, which are his weapons of choice. And he's enjoying being with his new tribe, as he likes to think of them. They're a lovely group of individuals who all have their own little quirks and let's leave
nuances.
Nuances, that's a good word. That's today's word of the day. And with
Nuance.
that, nuance. With that, I shall pass that on to Longshanks EPG.
Thanks very much, Medivac. Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG. I play Hengist in this game. He is the slightly above the run-of-the-mill warrior. Normally wears full heavy armor, but he's lost most of it. Normally carries a sword and shield, but shield was eaten by a dragon. Sword has been stolen, so he's running around with his fists at the moment. And if you want to find out more about him, you can watch the last previous year's worth of adventures. And I'll pass on to Inwas.
A year? That'll take a lifetime.
That's what it said. It said when I logged in to Roll20, it said Game 4 1 year ago in brackets. So I was like,
Wow.
mine was.
I'll have to see. I'll have to see.
That's
how long
rather good.
that was. Yeah. That was when you were going to the island of Von
Kane.
With the painted men.
Yeah.
And Longshanks is only 10 then.
Yeah. And that's where Gulliver threw a stone at a giant scorpion.
Yeah, just before we left.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Okay then. So the party is in a bit of a quandary at the moment. They are basically searching for 3 artifacts. A torque, a funeral mask, and a bracelet. They have the bracelet and they have the funeral mask, but they're yet to find the torque. However, after finding the funeral mask, they got abducted and kidnapped by a group of bandits called the Vipers, who also had some strange-looking creatures called Boar King with them. They were rescued by a previous associate called Finiel and her barbarian helper called Laran. After quite a dangerous fight in the throne room in which Hengist saw his sister, who's been missing for some time, disappear with the bandits' lord, the Lord of the Vipers, and where Gulliver didn't see, but the rest of them also saw 4 one wizard from each of the 4 orders there as well, protecting the Vipers' escape. The party headed off towards a road in search of a caravan, since, as Hazra has mentioned, they were very limited in what they had on them and what they actually had. That caravan took them to a town called Thorson, where they indulged in various escapades, including having their fortune told by a mad woman and receiving some kind of potion with a centipede in it, being chatted up by a wonderful female called Darla, who was then is now travelling on the caravan with them. As Bartleby previously mentioned, he had interactions with somebody called Glun at the Hog's Trotters, which is the local tavern in Thorson, which is basically the whole town's a pigsty. And Hazra and Hengist came out with a substantial amount of coinage and with the title of Lump Hefting Champions 1 and 2, depending whoever they decide is the best. The party was on the caravan, and yes, at the end of last venture, the caravan was forced to halt and come to a halt because they could see 2 tree trunks that had been stretched across the road. And we're going to dive straight into it now, and just so everybody remembers the scene, I'm going to just almost like create it for you on the map. Okay then, so if you remember, you've got your 4 caravans, okay, that are travelling along. Now I'm just going to put some areas on so you can see them. If you remember, sort of like here and here is the road. This side down here is part of a floodplain that goes off to the river, and if you remember, you are traveling along the river. Down this side there's a a slant, a slope that goes off. It goes a certain amount of distance, and then this has woodlands on it. And just to give you, I'm just pulling the caravan back a bit because you guys will have been down here, and I'm just going to put on where the 2 tree trunks are. So they're actually stretched across the road like that, and like I just need to move this one like that. Okay, as previously mentioned, they're not actually it's far away from any sort of the trees. The trees are way off in the distance down here. They do have their roots on the end, so it doesn't look like they've been chopped down and moved. However, they don't have the bushy branches on them, so it looks like definitely some of it has been chopped off or removed. So basically at this far end, you have like the root system coming out. Okay, but at this end, the opposite end, they virtually just sort of like come to an end, as if all the branches etc. have been removed. Okay, and that is where we left it. Johan, who's in charge of your caravan, has brought the caravan to a halt. The wagons are not piled up like this. I'll just move them off a bit, and that's where the lead caravan is, and you can sort of like put yourselves wherever you think you would be, and that's absolutely fine. And we will move straight on from there. So imagine just now that Johan has pulled the caravan to a halt, and Hazra, I think you saw it first because you were scouting some distance ahead, and yeah, Hengist, you're at the front, and Bartleby and Gulliver, you will be somewhere else on the caravan. It's up to you where. And yeah, so this is the situation that you come across. So we'll come to you first, Hazra, since you're likely to be at them as the caravan is moving up.
So first question is, last week you said that the road underneath was unkept. Unlike the rest of the road, which is all fine.
Yeah, it looks like sort of like as if it could have been that these logs or these tree trunks have been put across something that is uneven underneath, although you figure that probably wouldn't make sense.
No. Bye, girls. Have a nice night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bring us back a fried chicken.
You figure, Hazard, that this wouldn't actually make sense, because if it was protecting this part of the road, they would be
put planks across, or
they would be round the other way.
Yeah, but
these are definitely,
why not put something small or fix the road?
Yeah, these are definitely blocking the way.
And they've got roots on them, but they're not. There's no holes in the ground near the edge where they've been pushed over from or fallen from. So it's literally been dragged from the forest up here.
Just roll a perception roll for me.
Certainly. Perception.
You sort of like look out towards the forest area, and it doesn't. They could have come from in there, but what you do notice is that there's no drag marks or anything like that, as if they've been pulled from the forest or up the slope. The other thing that you do notice is that there's no sign of the branches from the top.
Right. So I'm going to holler back to Johan, and I'm going to say, Johan, when was the last time you used this road?
And yeah, he sort of like pauses for a while. I'm just going to move you onto a map, and then I'll move you back in a second. So if you remember, this is your map, yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, he actually probably got to Aylesford sometime last fall, so almost like 6 months ago, and then he travels from there down to Sarshen, which is actually this bit here. You can't actually see all the word, but that's what it is. So he thinks about and then so he travels right the way down to there, and then he comes right the way back up. And if you remember where the purple cross is, that's where you met him. And so it's been about, he sort of like says, oh, I think it's about 8 months.
Right, and these were not here last time when you came. These are new.
No, he says, definitely not. He says, we wouldn't have been able to get the wagons by when we came back down.
I see.
So he would have last seen it coming down from Aylesford.
And just one last thing.
Yeah.
Where's the closest cover to this? Is it literally the forest, which is a good distance away down this way?
Yeah, you figured the forest is about 50 to 100 meters away. So it's quite a significant distance. You don't think you think maybe somebody with a longbow or something like that might be able to fire arrows in this direction. However, you wouldn't be able to throw anything.
So it's not really a quick ambush. The first thing that came through Hazra's mind when he saw this was ambush, but if there's no clear close cover, in a sense, it would be a very bad ambush place in a sense, because we can just, well, can we? Right, sorry, I'm going to mull on this. I'm going to pass it on to someone else.
The first thing Gulliver wants to do, he wants to go to the closest wagon, and he wants to climb up so that he's got a better view of the surroundings, and he wants to have a look round, especially to the rear. He wants to have a look to see whether or not there's anything else coming up the road behind them. Yeah,
so you can look behind there. There's nothing as far as the eye can see on the road behind you. It just sort of like stretches out, and there's definitely nothing sneaking up on you or anything like that.
And then he's going to say, Master Johan, will you be able to get the wagons past the trees, or is the embankment too steep for the horses and carts?
He sort of like looks and sort of like says, well, we can take the wagons down. The biggest problem will be getting them back up again. Taking a wagon downhill is pretty easy, but getting a wagon uphill is probably best if we move these.
Are you transporting anything to Aylesford that might help us? A rope, or that maybe we can hitch up to the trees, and
so I'm just trying to move the
track them away.
Just trying to move the wagon, but you were underneath them. He says, oh, we probably have some rope. I'm not keen on using any of the tools we're bringing because they're going to blunt the edges.
I was thinking maybe just a rope and a horse, just to tether it round one end of the tree and maybe drag it from the...
You think one horse will be able to move the tree?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how heavy a tree is, or how
it
much
takes significant time to remove them from the wagon. We'll have to remove both of them, and then probably harness them back up at a later date.
I just don't think that we'd be able to push them. They do look very heavy.
Well, if you think that some horses could actually pull that down, then I'm sure that we can put a couple of horses at your disposal and some rope. I see that's not a problem at all. Just make for me, please, a it's not
Engineering.
Yeah, sorry. I suddenly thought. Yes, make an athletics check for me. Yeah, and as he's talking to you, the Utak, the barbarian that doesn't speak a lot, sort of like flings some rope at you, like that's being sort of like swapped round, and it's not as if you your hand doesn't say get some rope or anything like this. All of a sudden this chunk of rope sort of like coming towards you, but you actually see it coming out of the end of a corner of your eye, and it doesn't sort of like whack into you. You actually manage to get your hands on it in time, and you sort of like catch it as he goes, and Johan sort of like shouts back to some of the people behind him and says, "Untether your horses and give it to this boy. He's going to move the tree trunks." And there's you hear a mutter of something mixed between excitement and almost like we'll like to see him do this sort of like tones. And two of the horses from the second wagon are unshackled from the wagon and sort of like led out to you guys, to you, Gulliver, with the with the when you've got the rope. I'm just getting some horses for you.
Like look at the rope and look back at Johan as if to say, "Well, I thought somebody else was going to do it." But he'll jump down off the wagon anyway, and he'll head over to the.
I've got two lovely horses for you, look.
Oh. I was just going to shout over to Hengist and say, "Hey, lump-hefting champion, you want to roast some logs?" Because my theory is, if we get rope like Gulliver said on one end, we can move them. I'm hoping, he says, where's my draw? Draw, free, draw, shape, draw, line. Move them sort of like, that's not working. Oh. No, that one, freehand. Move them sort of, so it pivots on the end here.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Gulliver was looking at attaching it here and then having the horses pull it this way.
Well, but you're taking the root side, which is the heaviest side, so you might as well take the lights tight to the top and then literally pivot it on the roots, because that's the downhill here, isn't it? Here, this part is downhill. So it should hopefully just spin on that using my nomadic skills.
Giving a third option, tie the rope.
Could delete that. Sorry.
Hang on, the freehand. Tie the rope there and put them this way, so that tree then becomes there, and that tree then becomes there, and then we've got a channel.
We get a train down there.
The thing is, Gulliver doesn't know a lot about where to attach rope to trees and which way to pull them. He's seen horses being used to pull stuff when he used to live on the streets down by the docks, when he used to go down there as an orphan and skim stones at the stuff. But apart from that, he doesn't know much of what he's doing. But he's seen horses being used to clear stuff before and to get the boats closer to the dock. So once he's got the rope, he's going to jump down, and he's going to come over to the root bit, because he thinks that's the.
Gulliver, you should be able to move the horses as well. Can you?
Yeah. So can I? Yes. So he's going to do his best to. Is there enough gap underneath the trees, because where the roots are, to actually get the rope underneath?
Yeah, and then you will have to make a suitable roll to actually ascertain whether or not it's actually firmly attached and to the horse and to the roots, etc. So the roll will be there will be like a roll, and then that will determine how successful you actually are with the maneuver.
Okay, so what he wants to do, he wants to try to get the rope underneath the trunk, but give him enough rope so that he can actually then throw it, once it's gone underneath, throw it back over and go sort of like once round it before tying it off at this end.
Okay, so
he's going underneath the trunk,
okay, then, so,
over the top, back under, so it sort of like doubles over.
Yeah. So in order to mimic this, I'm going to ask for unless you wish to argue anything else, i.e. you got some kind of professional skill, I'm actually going to ask you to do your ride skill, which is actually dexterity and power. So you've got the dexterity of actually putting things in place, but you've also got the luck of the power in order to do it. So yeah, so you're tying the rope. Don't roll it yet. You're tying the rope here, along that side. Is that where the rope's going? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then what's going to be you're going to attach it to a horse?
Well, you need to attach it to the horse.
Is there anything joining the two horses together? Are they still in sort of like?
No, they've been untackled, so they're literally like they are now.
Oh, so there's no harness or anything on them.
They've got their they've got like the tackle on their backs. So they
because my worry was if he puts a rope around the horse's neck, it's going to kill itself.
No, it's got the harness.
Tied to the harness. Yeah.
So just like the ones here. There will be an attachment at the top of the harness that the
so what you'll need to do is the way it goes across at the back, you'll need to, because there'll be some loose around where it connects to the actual caravan as such. Again,
Gulliver's not an expert at this. He's just going to tie it onto the tackle however he can.
Okay, so so it is the idea that you're tying it onto the horse like this.
Can I assist while he's doing this?
I just wanted to know which way this trunk is going.
So it's going to be tied onto the horse like that, and then he's going to lead the horse, try to lead it in this direction.
Right. So you're hoping that it's going to pivot at the light end?
Yes.
Okay then. So so you tackle, you tie on the best as you possibly can, and Hazra's there helping you, and you'll have some knowledge, Hazra, on things, and then you're taking the you're moving the horse down to the edge here.
Yeah.
And then, so hopefully that whole thing is then parallel to the edge of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Hazra, what's your ride skill?
40.
40. So you can give him 20%, which would be 8%. So Gulliver, you can add 8% onto your ride roll, and we'll see what happens to it. Just to let you know before you roll it, it will be hard because of what you're trying to do, because there is an easier way to. It would have been anyway. Yeah. So just so you know, it's hard. Yeah. So quite remarkably, the horse ends up next to you, Bartleby, and Gulliver ends up there, and the tree ends up over here. The reason it was hard is because you were trying to pivot it in the wrong place. But, so it's pulled out, and Hengist and Bartleby, you're sort of like stood around Hazrat's over here, and you can definitely hear Johan. He seems to be getting rather impatient, and as the Hazra and Gulliver and the horse try to pivot this tree round via the heavy end, you can sort of like hear him tutting and almost like going like that, and he sort of like keeps looking up at the sun. And you figure it's probably something to do with looking at the time and what's happening. Yeah, so Hazra and Bartleby and Hengist, is there anything you would like to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was hoping to distract Hengist during a lot of this time, getting out of the way, of course, and perhaps rolling lore monsters if I can, with a bias. Kind of opening up to Hengist with a remember that one time when we were on that Pascona library and an ogre, big ogre capable of moving tree trunks? Maybe?
Oh yes.
I do remember that. Yes. But I haven't seen any ogre tracks.
I wonder what other monsters could move something like this.
There was that Minotaur thing that attacked the town and
Yes.
the Count.
But roll your monster lore of monsters. Do you wish to look it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and look that.
Yeah. So you figure either the Minotaur that Hengist talked about, or the ogre that you've seen. You've also heard from your or read in your books around the library that there are giants that live around, and I mean they was said to live in remote, desolate areas. And they can live, although popular belief is that they only live in mountains, there are, you remember reading about giants that lived in forest land, by the coast, on open plains, and in mountains. The only place that giants tend not to live are in caves, possibly due to the size of them and the accommodation of the cave. So yeah. Apart from that, no animal monsters that you know would do anything as intellectual as this.
Could I say this loud enough that Johan can hear probably too?
Yeah, by all means.
Excellent.
Hazra and you know what's coming next. Hazra and Gulliver, can you roll your endurance rolls, please, to resist fatigue?
Certainly. Endurance.
Yeah, so Hazra, you're quite used to moving these around, and
I do it every day. Lump pigs.
Yeah, being a lump hefting champion, you know, although this trunk bears some resemblance to lump, as in its general girth, you're quite used to it. Gulliver, unfortunately, you're not the sort of person that, you know, in your studies have been pulling and tackling horses and tree trunks, and so you are feeling a little bit fatigued now. And the other thing that you do notice is that you've got a blister on one of your hands. You think it's possibly where the rope rubbed or something like that. It's a bit sore. You know, that's it.
I'll take the lead from Gulliver, and I will take the rope off this log we've just moved, attach it to this. Oh, I'm a draw still, like an idiot. To here.
Yeah.
And then, while they're still attached to the horse, lead the horse, and then pull this one in this sort of direction again.
So as you walk back to that second trunk, can you roll for me? Do you have tracking?
I do.
Yeah, could you roll a tracking roll for me, please?
Oh, can I?
You can. It is just a standard roll I need. So you.
No, it's. I'll leave it because I would be more interested. I wouldn't be looking at the floor. I've been looking at leading the horse.
Yeah. Okay then. So as you walk up, you notice the very uneven nature of the ground round here, and it's almost as if it's completely out of character from the road. So it's literally the road here looks fine. The road here looks fine, but almost like I'll just hash it out so you gain a general idea. Sort of like all where the tree trunks were is all almost like uneven, and it's almost as if you don't. I'll give you it that you don't think it's erosion.
Right. So, I mean, I'll be walking.
You're
walking
over
the
this.
horse over.
Yeah. So you're over the other side now.
And if it is that uneven, I may take a moment just to go, oh, why is it like that? Why is it like that, the road?
Yeah.
So as I'm tying the rope on here, can I look at the? Cause I will be trying to go under the trunk to get the rope around. Could I just have a moment to look at the road?
Yeah, that's what your tracking skill was.
All right. Yeah.
So
okay.
if you wish to look it, you can have the answer.
No, it's fine. I won't. I've said no. Yeah.
So you're tying this. Yeah, sorry, Gulliver.
Gulliver, as Hazra goes off, I mean, looking down the right hand side of it, there's no sort of like drag marks or anything.
Oh, roll a perception check. It's not to actually see anything. It's just the amount of detail that I give you. Do you wish to look it?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so remove the point of look. Yeah, on this side, it does look like something has been dragged down this side. It doesn't. It's as if these logs were probably down this side, these trunks, and were almost like hauled up from there. As if they were lying down here somewhere. If you want to have a closer look, then you'll have to go down. But you can see where the grooves are, and it almost like looks as if it hasn't just been done once.
How steep is it going down?
No, it's about an incline like this.
Okay,
you wouldn't slip or anything.
Gulliver's intrigued, so he's going to go down and have a look.
Yeah, so well, do you have tracking or survival or anything like that?
No.
Okay, then so just roll a perception roll, but it will be considerably higher the success rate on this. But yeah, you manage it. No difficulty at all.
It was the butler.
Yeah, once you look down here. You figured that these tree trunks were definitely down here beforehand. You also can notice when you get down here that there's various what appears to be wood shavings and bits of branches, and using you sort of like your intelligence and your willpower, etc., you come to the conclusion that this was probably where the branches were removed. There's no sign of them now, but it definitely looks like this was where the branches were removed, and you can see little parts of kindling and things like that around it. Yes, Hazra, are you planning on pulling this thing?
Yes, in which case, as I don't know what's going on elsewhere, I'm going to just move the tree out of the way as we planned.
Okay then. So you'll just be rolling your ride skill, yeah. Yeah, and you quite successfully. I'm just moving it up slightly so we can move you round. You managed to move this round to there.
Perfect.
And so, yeah, with quite a degree of ease, you know, and you really get on well with this horse. You know, obviously you're making that connection.
It's a good horse.
Back to your time in steps, and it's time on the steps, sorry, rather than in steps. And you sort of like take the so you end up there. Hengist and Bartleby, is there anything that you wish to do?
Angus
No.
is well. Angus, whilst this has all been going on, he's been sort of keeping an eye out because he's on high alert because this is prime sort of ambush,
Okay.
delaying for an ambush sort of tactic. So although he was talking to Bartleby, he's been sort of like looking out in this direction.
Yeah. Okay. So can
and
you
then
just
sort
make?
of scanning that direction.
Could you make a perception roll for when all this is happening?
Would he be able to augment that with his strategy and tactics ability? Skill? Because he's thinking, well, it's an ambush.
It depends.
I'm looking out for an ambush type thing.
So
I'm looking for areas that people.
Okay, if you want to augment it with your strategy, then you will be looking in the area that you think is the best way to have the attack from.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why he's looking. He's thinking, if I was this my ambush, this is where I'd be hiding type thing.
So you're not rolling your attack, your perception roll for here, and somewhere else and somewhere else. You're just, if you want to augment it, it's just like, right, the chance of the attack is to come from there, and that's where you're looking at that moment. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it just be 20% of that. So just
okay.
10
Hang
double.
on.
While that's happening, Bartleby, could you just roll for me a perception roll as well?
Absolutely. Especially since Hengist isn't paying attention to my stories anymore.
Right. Okay. Then. So Hengist, the obvious place for attack would be from the forest side of it. So you're taking your lookout over there. Bartleby, yeah, you can hear that Johan and Utuk are busy muttering. Well, Johan's muttering. Utuk's saying nothing at all. He's just sort of like sat there quite stoically, and just sat there sort of like looking ahead. If anything, he seems to be watching Hazra and what he's actually doing. Yeah, so the Gulliver, you're down at one side. Hazra, you've moved the tree trunk away. Hazra, you'll need to do a endurance check for me for fatigue.
Of course, yep.
You managed to. You obviously know the right place to tie things and what to do, and you're quite used to this sort of like manual sort of like labour, and
we have tied many people up in the past.
Yeah, and plus being semi-naked helps the heat go away from your body. You sort of like look,
I am at one with nature.
Yeah, and you sort of like use your tackle, the tackle, to sort of like move things away to one side. Yeah, Gulliver.
I mean, seeing
down this slope
down here, he wants to scramble up the bank, and he. This is grassland on this side, isn't it?
Sorry, I wasn't down far enough. On the floodplain, yeah. It's very, it's quite lush grass, but it's quite short grass. It's quite lush because it's on a floodplain. So obviously, when the river floods, it'll bring fine silt over the area, which is really good fertile soil. But of course, the grass doesn't grow too big because if it did, the water would just come away and then that would be it. So it's almost like tundra in it, so like consistency, so very sort of like tussocks and tufts of that grass around the place. So it's not something that you would want to run barefooted in, because it looks quite coarse.
He wants to go over to the other side of the embankment and have a look to see whether or not he can see marks on that side or not.
Okay, so I think the only if you roll your perception roll, because you don't have tracking or anything like that, so yeah, you remember Hazra talking about this, it doesn't seem to be any like there's any markings or anything like that. Doesn't seem like these tree trunks are being dragged from anywhere at all. It's quite unusual actually, because on this side you can see nothing. Well, on the opposite side there seem to be a lot more things observable.
But on the other side, we could sort of like see for as far as the eye could see, and it was just a floodplain. There was no trees or stuff.
No, nothing at all, because they wouldn't have time enough to grow before the river would flood again at the end of the season or during winter.
Gulliver's going to look towards the tree line and how far that's away, and then he's going to look the other way at the floodplain, and he's going to have a look back, and then he's going to turn to Hengist and Bartleby, and he's going to say, it's almost as if they were dropped onto the road
by an ogre.
Do you know if the ogre appears, Bartleby's first free action will be to say, "Told you so."
Yeah, told you twice.
It could also be a giant, though, Gulliver. Hengist has been listening to my story, I think.
Or could have been a giant goblin. We've seen many types of goblins, so wouldn't be put it past it to be a giant goblin. Hengist mutters under his breath while still staring sort of like along the forest line, expecting any second a goblin to appear.
Giant goblin. Fascinating idea, Hengist.
Or maybe goblins, maybe giants were once goblins.
If you look at the floor, you'll see one of those slimy goblins with a little shell on its back.
Bartleby's going to need to figure out this goblin index here.
Would Tobias's friend be able to lift it?
Tobias? Tobias is dead, isn't he?
Mm.
Okay, I remember Tobias' head coming off.
Tobias's friend was Ark.
No, Gulliver knows who Tobias's friend was, but that's what he said.
Do you mean Johann's friend, Gulliver?
No, the person that Tobias used to hang out with. It was the last person to see him.
You've lost me, Gulliver. You really have.
I'm just going to make sounds of crickets in the background.
We do have a tundra. There's plenty of space for tumbleweed.
That's okay.
A tumbleweed slowly rolls across.
I'm just not sure how we would be able to get Ark involved when we have giant goblins and ogres to be concerned about.
No, you're probably right.
Everybody looks at Gulliver as if to say, I wonder what he's been smoking.
Hengist's tea used by the smell.
Yeah, Hengist turns around and says,
looked like they had almost like been dropped onto the road. And we know we know what was the last person to see Tobias.
Oh, like you think the wyvern wyvern is dumb.
As Hazra is stood there going,
the wyvern aren't intelligent enough. That's why I was so glad to see that it didn't have arms. It just had wings and two. Because if this was a dragon, Gulliver, yes, this would be definitely a good spot for a dragon to fly over and pick us off.
Hazra walks past this conversation while leading the horse back to the cart and goes, took my bloody spear.
There'll be dragons. Okay.
I want to lead the horses back as quickly as possible because, let's face it, this isn't a coincidence. And take them to whichever caravan they came from and say, hitch these up as quick as you can so we can get out of here light is failing. We need to be moving now.
Yeah, and it's taking you quite an amount of time to sort of like move these out the way. And of course, Gulliver, you'll be able to ride on the caravan once it sets off to remove your fatigue, because it's probably just about 3 minutes, is it?
My fatigue is taking 0.125, so about 8 minutes.
0.125.
Yeah.
Yeah, so roughly about an eighth of a minute. Well, exactly an eighth of a minute. Okay, Johan sort of like turns around to you, Hazra, and says, "Yeah, I agree, but I'm worried about that uneven ground. Is it possible for one of you to support the horses and the wagon as it goes across, or even if you are proficient drivers, maybe you could drive one of the others? I'm quite skilled, but some of my caravanners are not that skilled with their driving."
I hadn't noticed the uneven ground. As such, I thought you possibly would be able to get across it, because it as I was going to go and have a look, I will have another look at the ground and see, now the trees have gone, what it is like, and if we could navigate across.
Yeah, I mean, as mentioned before, it looks as if these trunks have not... It almost like looks it's been dragged up here over and over again. So rather than...
It's more like a divot.
Yeah, there's several sort of like...
Furrows,
etc. And you figure that the horse is going to maybe be unsure about its footing. And, you know, some of the wagons could actually topple over with the unevenness. You can, if you wish... Anybody can you have several choices. You can either drive the wagon yourself if you've got a significant drive skill. Remember, drive is actually a wagon, not a sports Lamborghini Countach car or anything. Or you can either drive it yourself, or you can augment the driver's role by either using your own drive or your ride. So if anybody's got anything like animal handling, they can use that as well to help the horses if need be. So it's going to be it's not going to be easy to get them across.
Azra's going to look at Johan and say, "Johan, how did you expect to get through 2 trees, let alone these little furrows here? But you're looking at us like it's our fault these are here. But do we have anything we could maybe put in these gaps to even it out, and then we could pick it up and bring it back? Maybe some. Are you carrying planks or maybe I don't know, something like." Sheets or canvas we can put in there to maybe pack it in.
He sort of like looks at you and says, "Well, we have plenty of that, but it's our goods for trading."
Okay, well, you won't be able to sell your goods if we're sat here. Maybe you ask
to sell my goods if you pack it into a furrow either.
No, but maybe you'll be able to sell some of your goods. So I'm
happy for you to do it if you are going to cover my losses on the trip.
Don't have.
Just notice that you're carrying some kind of belt pouch, probably of rather a hefty sack. It's not a bum bag or anything, you know. It's just sort of like, it's not, "Are you pleased to see me?" No, it's a coin bag.
If I bought if I bought off you 2 planks of wood, what would that cost me?
Well, he says it depends on the market value once we get to Aylesford. You know.
No, you're a man of the world. You have a rough idea of what it's going to cost. I mean, I've never met a merchant yet who doesn't have an idea of what he's going to make.
So you want to put some of my best silk down on the...
No, I don't want your best silk. I just want maybe some canvas or something like that.
He says the only canvas on the wagon is the one that's covering my wagon. And before you think it, Mr. Hazra, no.
Okay. Well, in which case we shall just chance our luck and try for the.
We trust to your expertise here, Mr.
Well,
Hazra.
I'd like to think that Cinderella
And
will
with
us as well.
Cinder's help, and he
Yes.
flicks a coin up in the air and goes, she says you will do it unless you want to prevent us from travelling any further. Shall we get on, Mr. Hazra?
So does a man who follows Cinderella, does he say yes?
She says that we should put our trust in you.
Very well played, sir. Very well played.
Yes.
Okay, so looking at these furrows, I want to find the shallowest area, which I'm going to hope is going to be this sort of side,
Okay.
because if they've been dragged from down here, the deepest furrows will be here because it'll have had to angle and I'm using my nomad treaty
Okay,
dragon.
so do you have a drive or ride skill?
I have ride, which is my 40, and I do have drive, which is 20.
So do you wish to just help it across with your drive, or do you want to drive it yourself, or do you want to use your ride to encourage the horses across?
I want to use my ride to encourage the horses across, please.
Okay then. So what's your ride? Is that
That's 40.
so 8% will be your augment. Now I know the riding skill and the driving skill of Johan, who's actually driving this. His drive skill is 75. Okay, so you can roll the dice. You just need to get under 82 to get the first wagon across.
Gosh, this isn't so bad.
Dead easy.
Yeah, ready. Watch this. He just jinxed it now, Mr. Jinx.
Just roll a D100. what did
82.
82.
and what did he need? 80.
82.
Yeah. 75 plus your augment. Yeah, would be 83. So yeah, quite luckily.
Mr. Jinx.
You get the wagon across. There's a moment when you see it almost like tipping, but you manage to sort of like get the horses back in action, and Johan sort of goes, "Oh!" And he turns around to you and says, "Not bad." And then he says, 3 more to go.
Well, Mr. Johan, I'd suggest with your skill and expertise of moving this one over, you should take the other 3 and I shall lead the horses like we just did there.
Yeah, and he takes that suggestion on board and sort of like dismisses the professional wagon person next out, which was 92, and hops on to take the wagon across. Yeah, so below 83 to get the next one across. Oh, yeah, that's 2 safely across. Next one.
I just know where to go now.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. You know where to take it and what to do. It's quite funny. It's quite funny because it's a bit like sort of like, you know, when people are doing work on the road and there's one person digging it up. Yeah, and
that's me.
Bartleby and Gulliver and Henderson just sort of like sat watching you take these.
Gulliver sat on one of the wagons because he reckons this must take over 8 minutes. And he can get.
You can get rid of your fatigue. Yeah, and the last, 60. Yeah, so you are well across using your expertise and driving skills, and it has taken significant amount of time, but as you mentioned, Gulliver, you managed to get your fatigue back again, and you sort of like head off down the road, and Johan's not happy at all because You hear him muttering about schedules, and that they're not going to reach places in time, and he wish would have taken a lot quicker, and there's definitely going to be somebody to answer to this. And whereabouts? I'll just put you random places, and then you can.
Once Gulliver's rested, he won't travel on a wagon. He wants to sort of like walk slightly behind one, but close to the edge, and he wants to be looking for as they're carrying on the journey, he wants to be looking for any stones which are suitable for throwing.
Yeah, okay, just like little pebbles.
Well, the stones that he's used to throwing. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, so I just need to check something that I've just noticed. Yeah, so
like a fist size.
Yeah, so Gulliver's checking for little stones as you go along. What about the rest of you? What's going to be your plan?
Bartleby is walking alongside, not with any real purpose. It's just my goddess encourages high endurance, so I'm gonna do as much walking as I can.
Cool. So you're just going to be walking along. Yeah, and what about Hazra and Hengist?
Well, Hazra is going to be doing exactly what it's doing before and just taking the lead, scouting a little bit as it's daylight still, and just moving a little bit forward from the caravan and watching. After seeing what's happened behind, he'll be watching all around as he's moving up, and maybe just on the left-hand side of the road, just below the divot, so you can, as it slopes down a bit, just so you can see over onto the road and onto the other side.
Yeah. Okay then. So Gulliver, just roll your power roll, which is the equivalent to where your luck comes from.
Just my power.
Yeah, you should be a percentage. Yeah. Or roll a d100 and tell me if you get below your.
Powers
Be a power times 5 scenario.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, times 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so it will be my power's 15.
Okay.
So it's going to be what, 75?
Yeah. Yeah, you can find as many little stones as you wish.
You pick up sort of like 3 and
that's
just
absolutely fine.
Pop them in his tunic as he's wandering along.
Okay, so you continue and travel, and one thing that you notice as you continue along the well-worn track, and this wagon trail, that you notice that 2 things are happening. The first thing that you notice is the gap on either side is getting less and less and less and less and less. It's almost as if the floodplain is reducing, probably because you're going further up stream. And you also notice that the tree line is getting closer and closer and closer and closer. You're not actually going through a forest yet, but it's only about 10 meters away now, rather than the 50 to 100 meters away. The other thing that you notice, because I said there was 2 things, the other thing that you notice is your elevation has started to reduce. So the slope on either side is becoming less and less and less and less and less, until you actually get to the point as nightfall, as dusk starts to arrive, that you're actually the road you're traveling on is flat with the gaps on either side, and it's about 20 meters out. You can see the river 20 meters away on one side, and the forest 20 meters on the other side. Hazra, you sort of like look out into the forest, but it doesn't seem to be like a thick forest. You can see into it. It's not as if something lurking will be something lurking. And as time ticks on and the sun begins to set, Johan calls a halt to the wagon train, and he actually orders the wagons off the trail, and in the gap between the forest and the trail and the forest. So if you imagine that bottom yellow line now is actually the edge of the road. So the carriages, the wagons are sort of like positioned like this, in true sort of like cowboy style, in the sense that it's forming some kind of sort of like security around it, like a perimeter. Yeah. Johan sort of like explains that he doesn't put the wagons in a circle because if you look at the direction, they're all still facing in the correct direction. So if they need to escape, they can do it. And people sort of like settle down and just roll.
Can I just mention, Johan, why don't you put it on the other side of the road, away from the forest, so you have more notice of anybody coming towards you?
He says, it's boggy.
Oh, okay, sorry.
He says, the wagons are just sinking to the mud. We'll never get them out. It's sometimes all right if you're coming back with them unladen, but this is much firmer ground here.
I understand, my friend. It's just a little perplexing, but that's wonderful. You explained it perfectly to me.
Hazra, can you just roll your survival skill? Because I'm assuming you will be going out and
shopping. Yes. There we go. Oh.
Yeah. Okay then. So you go.
I will look that if you don't mind.
Yeah, by all means.
Yep. So that'll be 58. Will
58. Yeah. So you go out and lay your traps ready to collect them the next morning to see whether or not any nocturnal creatures or giant goblins have wandered into them or anything like that. And you sort of like sit down around the campfire that has been created for the middle of the right in the middle of the caravans. I'm just getting you one now. We'll have this one. This one's in this one. Oh, sorry, Gulliver.
No.
Somebody put Gulliver out.
Well, it was either that one or that one.
His hair isn't ginger, really. It's on fire.
Yeah, that's my fireball spell. So, but it's not. I have it in different. Look, this is a burning hand spell.
That's nice.
It's cool, isn't it? I like
it.
Yeah. And this is Dragon's Breath.
Ooh.
So that is where it comes.
It's just a huge.
From the dragon.
Oh, Mr. Bartleby.
Yeah, Mr. Bartleby.
Who is a dragon?
Spoilers.
Yeah. So
I'm not a dragon, guys.
The plot thickens.
So Johan sort of like gives out watches, and he's arranged it that you will all take a time watching, but there will also be 2 people with you. 2 of the other wagoneers at any one point, so you won't be on watch alone. There will be somebody with you, and the campfire is settled down, and you start to eat your normal, trail rations or some of the dried meat or still moist meat that Hazra cooked and made the night before, etc. Darla is with you, and she busies herself sort of like making a concoction of some kind of food for that, and you sort of like eat your meal, and then Johan turns to you, Bartleby, and says, "Oh, Master Bartleby, a song if you wish."
I have one indeed, which I entitled Hazra versus the Troll.
Hazra versus the Troll. And everybody sort of like mutters how brave Hazra is, and they also like look at him in his semi-naked form with a big pouch of money on his belt, and sort of like nod and sort of like start listening in. Yeah, go for it. You can do one of 2 roles. Are you just telling the story, or are you singing the story?
I'm going to start with telling the story and then probably poorly bring my loot into it as
Okay,
as it gets more.
Okay, so if you just want to tell the story, then you will use your oratory roll. If you want to if you want to sing, you will use your sing skill, augmented by your oratory roll, or if you want to play your instrument, then you'll use your musical instrument roll, augmented by your oratory roll as you tell the story. So it's up to you.
I'm going to go with just oratory, but I'll have my loot in my hands even though I'm not really using it much.
Okay, so start to tell your story by doing your roll.
He was dressed just like this when the troll attacked.
And somebody mutters, do you think he still had a black arm then?
I'll use a point of luck just for the fun of it.
So you sort of like you start telling the story and you sort of like say, oh, he was just like this, and you think you're getting it a little bit too descriptive for them, and you suddenly shift the story more to the hack and slay part of it, and they become a lot more interested then. Do you wish to roll either your sing or musical instrument? The only reason I'm asking that is because then if it's a fumble, you would automatically get a point for it, but it also means that you've had a go at it.
I've never been trained to sing, so I'll do a couple strums on my musician, my lute.
Yeah. So roll away.
To the points where in the story where Hazra has to use his spear to pin down the troll, rip off its arm, and then cauterize it with a torch.
Okay, and you go bing, 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 bing.
That's the cauterizing. Bing.
Yeah. And you know they sort of like really like you playing this musical instrument, and you figure they're probably easily pleased because you do realize that some of your chords that you plucked was quite sort of like had a lot of discord in them, as you put it. But you managed to pull it off, and at the end there's quite a good round of applause for you, and you stand up and take a humbling bow. And then everybody sort of like decides to retire for the night, and all I need from you guys is the order that you're going to do your watch.
I want the best watch for going to see Amriel. Even if other people are watching, I don't care.
Yeah, so that'll probably be the second one, or it's the second or third
take
one.
The first one if he can.
Okay, so Gulliver.
Hengist is happy with the last watch.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm happy with the last watch, if possible, with Hengist, or the one before last, if necessary, so I can go check my traps and bring in the animals.
Yeah, so if we do it like that order, yeah. So Gulliver take the first watch.
That's fine with me.
Then Bartleby would take the second watch, and also remember that on your watch you do have 2 guards as well. So if anything happens at that point, I just want you to remember that you have 2 guards with you. Okay, can somebody just roll a 1d4 for me? Four. Okay then. Cool. So you sort of
I didn't know whether or not somebody else was clicking. I could hear somebody.
I was.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's all right. It's not a problem once I've got one. So you settle down and you sort of like take up your positions round the fire, because it's getting a little bit more chilly the further you go north, and you sort of like roll yourselves up in blankets to sort of like maintain your body warmth and to keep from getting not frostbite. It's not that cold, but you don't want cold toes, etc. And you sort of like settle down, and the first thing that I would like to happen, please, is that I would like Gulliver, you to roll a perception roll for me, please. Yeah, I'm doing really well with your rolls tonight. So you like that person? Natural 20.
No, it's all right. It changes when it's important.
Oh yes. Well, yes, that is actually true. Actually, because you failed your endurance roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything that matters, I fail.
Your standard is a palindrome.
I like
was
to think
gonna
that
say
everything
that,
matters.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And if you turn it upside down, it'll say 1991.
Yeah.
Well done.
Almost my birth year.
You youngster.
I know when the students started
Almost.
university, they were actually born in 2000.
I know.
No, it's scary, isn't it?
I
It
know.
really-
I just sort of like said, "Shut up."
I think I've got underpants older than most of them.
I think I've got underpants older than some of them.
Okay then. So
I've got a wife most of them, older than most of them. Anyway,
okay. So
I should hope so, Novak. I should hope so.
Gulliver, the first thing that you notice, well, you don't notice anything necessarily. You hear something, and what you hear is quite familiar to you, because you hear the howl of wolves, and you've come across wolves on several occasions. I think you came across them in the when you were journeying to the Library of the Mystics.
Mm-hmm.
And they attacked you in the clearing, and it sort of like worries you somewhat. And the other two guards sort of like, they obviously hear it as well, and almost like look towards you as if to say, "What shall we do?"
Could I tell what direction they were coming from? Were they coming from the forest?
Yes, most definitely.
Gulliver's going to sort of like
It is a full moon, so you can actually look out across the plain towards the river, and you can't see anything up there.
yeah, he's going to he's going to keep and he's going to spend more time looking towards the forest than he's looking anywhere else.
Okay.
Have on our journey up to Forston.
Thorson, yeah.
Yeah, had we heard wolves during that time, or
No,
was there no forest?
no, you haven't actually heard any sort of like any noises like this since leaving Lindo, really, or that area. The last time you heard wolves howling like this was probably in the Library of the Mystic, when you were journeying to the Library of the Mystic. I got a bit confused there because I was crossing over to the D&D game when Flat's paladin had that big beast that used to follow him around and used to howl all the time. But no, it's just like wolves. It's definitely coming to the forest. And one thing, you said you were going to keep an eye out down the forest.
Yeah, I mean the first thing he's going to do is
I just was interested whereabouts you would be.
yeah. Well, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to put a few more branches or whatever onto the fire, try to stoke it up
okay.
so that it's burning brighter. And then what he's probably going to do, he's going to clamber up onto this wagon here, so that he's higher up, so that he can get a better angle and look towards
the horses are not actually tethered to the wagon, so if you imagine that cross bit is actually down on the floor, but they are tethered to the wagons, if that makes sense. So they couldn't drive off but you couldn't
No,
leave the
but
horses
the
like that
lead
all the
as
time.
such is tied to a path. Yeah.
And you do notice, Gulliver, that when you get up that close, the horses, especially on this wagon, seem rather unsettled and very restless.
Okay, he wants to get up onto the back and see, looking out over to the forest, whether or not he can see anything.
Yeah, so make a perception roll.
Was there more than one howl? Was it sort of like answered, or what, was it picked up by other
you're not too sure. There hasn't just been one howl. There's been a series. Yeah, you look over into the forest, you can't see anything. You're not too sure how far they are away, but you can't actually see them from the front of the forest. Of course, it's a lot darker inside there now because there's no sunlight penetrating it through the canopy. But you can't see anything from your vantage point on that wagon.
Okay, I mean, what if you can't see anything? He's going to climb down, and he's going to try to calm the try to calm the horses a bit. You know, stroking their flanks or whatever.
Okay. Do you have a particular skill that you would like to use for that?
No.
Okay then. So if you just roll your ride,
maybe I'm trying to influence them to be calm.
No, it'd be ride influence.
Right.
It's only done on people.
Right, I'll do ride then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yes. Do you wish to look it at all?
No.
No. Yeah, so you sort of like try your best, but I mean, you're not used to being around horses at all. And you just hope that you're patting them in the right places. But you might have been mistaking them for some kind of large cat. You sort of like keep tickling them behind the ears or something like that. And they seem to be still in quite an agitated state. They're not sort of like neighing and sort of like stomping their hooves or anything, but they're definitely unsettled. And you do notice that this is now almost like having a cascading effect on the other horses. Is there anything else, Gulliver, that you would like to do before the end of your watch? Just to let you know, you do hear the howls quite on a regular basis. They're not sort of like every 10 seconds, but it's almost like that awful thing that you hear a howl, you wait, you think, oh, there aren't any, and just when you do that, there's another howl.
No, I mean he's just going to keep an eye out in the direction that the howls are coming from. See whether or not he can pick up any movement over at the tree line or anything like that.
So your watch comes to an end, and the guards are quite pleased when Bartleby's watch comes online. You notice, Bartleby, that it's quite a full moon. You also notice that the two guards that were keeping watch with Gulliver actually come and sleep, put their bedrolls down on this side, sort of like away from the other. And Gulliver, you pass over to Bartleby.
Gulliver's going to say to him, Bartleby, we heard wolves coming from the forest. There seem to be a few of them.
We certainly have bad luck with wolves. So I'll keep my eyes off the moon, though. So beautiful tonight, Gulliver. How can you worry? You go sleep, Gulliver. I'll take care of it. Amriel, I got this.
Is there any room to actually sleep under one of the wagons? Or...
yeah, by all means.
So
which wagon would you like to sleep under?
Probably this one here.
Okay, cool. There you go. Firmly under. Oh, with this check. Yeah.
It could be like one of those move them around and you got to guess which one he's under.
Yeah, no, you can.
Oh, it's this one. No, he's not.
Just the Cook's game.
Yeah, so Bartleby, you take over your second watch, and obviously, are you doing any divination or worshipping towards your god, or sorry, goddess?
This is like the best night of the month to be worshipping my goddess.
It certainly is.
Oh, I'm full worship. I'll take a penalty on perception if I need to.
Okay.
I don't even care.
So you start. Tell me how your worshipping or your ceremony how does it represent itself?
first off, it's quiet because I'm respectful. I'll go a little bit away towards the forest, but not too far away, so I can still see what the campfire. But so I can move my arms around and
so you can move your token to whereabouts you want to be roughly.
Probably like right there-ish. So I have a little bit of space to move my arms around and soak in the moonlight and hold my ceremonial candle that I don't have. So I'll just use a torch, my torch club that I have. It's not a full candle, but it's okay. It's the full moon night.
Did you get candles from?
I didn't. I was gonna go look at them, but I couldn't afford any. So it's okay. I've got a torch club. It's Amriel will still be pleased, I'm sure.
Cool. Yeah. So you will be able to, during that ceremony, transfer any magic points, both Gulliver and Bartleby. By tomorrow morning, you will be up to full magic points. And Bartleby, you can exchange any of them into your devotion pool if you need to. But before that happens, Bartleby, you need to roll for me a perception roll.
Receiving the night. And here we are. Oh.
Yeah. So even with the increased difficulty to hard, one of the times that you're sort of like deep in meditation with your goddess, you do hear a howl that is quite loud, and you turn round and look to the forest line, and you can definitely see a pair of red glowing eyes. It's quite low down, so you figure it's some kind of wolf, the size roughly of a large dog. It looks like it's quite a big wolf if the size of these eyes are to go by. They're not tiny, and it just seems to be hovering almost on this tree line. And every now and again, they seem to glare at you for a period of time, and then you see them slowly blink and reappear in exactly the same spot. And you're sort of like stood there with your flaming brand, or sat there, when you see them.
Could I want to call upon the power of my goddess towards this set of eyes. Hopefully I changed it from last time. Where is it? The prayer I would like to do towards this target is calm.
Okay.
Would it be within range actually, 70 meters?
Yeah, it's only about 20. It's only about 20 meters. Well, it's less than 20 because it's 20 meters from the edge of the road to the tree line. So I have a willpower, is it, to resist it?
Yes, I want my goddess to calm this creature and keep it in a euphoric peace that I am in when I'm praying.
So you actually do succeed with your standard roll, and I succeed as well. So I'm 30 out of 43, but you win because you've got the higher mode, the highest on the standard. So you sort of like, how does this manifest itself? Or does it not manifest itself?
I would think that it wouldn't manifest for other people, but for both the target and I, it would manifest as kind of moonlight shimmering down. So the target knows that I'm doing this to them, but they're also feeling the glow of the goddess coming down upon them, and hopefully a calm that goes with it. Yeah,
so you sort of like cast it, and just sort of like you see Amriel's blessing and calming influence of that full moonlight slowly sort of like cascade down onto the set of eyes, and for a moment you do see that it is quite a big wolf, and you sort of like, with Amriel's blessing being rained down on it, it seems to sort of like hesitate for a moment looking at you, and then it almost like seems to turn its head away and starts to head back into the forest, and then a little bit later it sort of like stops and looks at you again, and then goes back off into the forest. And after, it's about 10-15 minutes later, that you actually hear the howl once again, but it seems to be a lot further away than it was beforehand. And you finish your ritual and you come back into the camp, and then Hazra, you take over the watch. What would you like to do? Sorry, Bartleby, where do you want to sleep? There's plenty of wagons if you want to get underneath one as well.
No, I'm confident that my new friend is gonna not come and tear my face off in the night. I'll tell, of course, Hazra as I'm waking him up to be careful of my friend the wolf, and then I'll sleep kind of over here. Like, I don't even care being close to the forest. I'm not afraid.
Okay, Hazra, what would you like to do on your watch, if anything?
Okay, I'm going to just keep an eye out. I will go and check my traps.
That would mean that you are walking away from the caravan.
Oh, no.
They're not actually, I mean, your trap
Yeah, I know
isn't
that
sort of
they'll
like
be not around the front of the horse. Oh, it's here. I keep one next to my pillow all the time. No, in that case, you're right. I thought I could go maybe a good 30, 40 feet into the foliage, whatever.
You'll probably be able to do it at the end of your watch, i.e. when Hengist wakes up to take the watch, you can go off and check the traps before you retire. And you've already rolled that survival roll, I think, didn't you?
So in which case, I'll just march the perimeter. I know there's other people on watch with me, but I will just have an orderly walking around and checking the marsh side and checking the forest side, and just keep myself alert about being very quiet on my feet at the same time.
Okay, can you just roll for me a perception roll?
Certainly. Perception. Yes,
and the night seems somewhat quiet. You don't hear any wolf hounds at all, but you're not too sure. But you almost think you heard a woman's scream. It was very far off, and it was almost like an echo when you heard it. It wasn't sort of like really close by, and you sort of like think it's one of those things that you hear it and then you think, what was that? But it didn't sound like a man's scream. It definitely sounded like.
What sort of direction did it come from?
Further off to the northeast.
Northeast, so over
further along, further up the road. And you can look up on the road and you can see as far as the turn, and there's nothing there. There's nothing out there. But
is it flatland all the way, or?
Yeah, the only thing that differs is that the like I said before, the gap between the trees and the river slowly sort of like come in further to the road.
I will.
It's interesting because now you're suddenly thinking,
didn't I?
Yeah.
Am I still hearing insects and other nightly noises like I normally do?
Yeah.
Because I know if something's in the area, everything goes quiet normally.
Yeah. No. You can hear the normal everyday sounds.
Okay. And how far am I into my watch when I hear it?
Probably about an hour, 2 hours.
I'll gently go to Mr. Bartleby and touch his shoulder and give him a gentle rock and say, I'm sorry, Mr. Bartleby, I'm very sorry to disturb you. But
willpower check, Mr. Bartleby. Or Bartleby.
Yes, because I'm sleepy after worshipping my goddess.
He's tired after worshipping.
You sort of like,
Mr.
and he just sort of like rolls over and he says, "Not tonight, Amriel."
Not tonight. I have a headache.
Sort of like rolls over.
He'll I think. Oh, that's nice. In which case, I will go to Hengist, who's up next. I don't want to disturb Gulliver because I know he's.
You know what he's like if you wake him up.
Yes.
He's just a crotch patch for the rest of the day.
Unless you give him cheese.
Unless
If you wake him up with cheese, then he's fine.
Yeah, Hengist, roll a willpower for me.
You've got to guess which one he's under first.
You go over, you sort of like rock Hengist, and Hengist says, "Not tonight, lump, later."
These people are terrible. How will I wake them up for the next watch? So in which case, I'll go a little way up, just up maybe 20. 30
Yeah,
meters
so you're
away.
leaving the camp, yeah, and the guards sort of like look at you and say,
Yeah, I will tell
you
the guard.
going?
I heard something over this way. I'm just going to quickly go have a look. If I don't come
they
back,
say, do you want us to come with you?
chopper.
Do you want to come? Shall we come with you?
No, stay at the camp. Stay at the camp.
Yeah. You're quite chilly, Hasra, by the way.
I'm very chilly. I'm very chilly. Yes,
Chilly, yeah.
chilly. Yes, because I have no clothes on.
With your loincloth on.
Loincloth.
Yeah. How far
If I
would
don't
you,
come back, please let them know where I went.
yeah,
I'll wake up Hengist in 2 hours.
how far do you want to go down the track?
I just want to go maybe 40 feet. Well, maybe to the.
We're meeting
I can see the
together.
bend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I want to go to the bend, but
Okay,
no
so,
further than the bend.
okay, so
I'm listening.
you head off to the bend. So roll your perception.
The stuff stays very loud. The background. I don't know whether or not it is for everybody else.
It is, yes, yeah.
Perfect for me, actually.
I was finding it hard to hear what people were saying.
I don't know how it can be different for some
I
people.
can.
It's coming over quite loud for me.
Can we turn it down in game ourselves? Or?
But it's all right. It's been
Well,
turned down.
Yeah, it's just sort of like on my mixer, which is controlling the sound. The decibels are actually at
1,000.
minus 80.
That's really loud.
So
Right.
I mean, it's gone down now. I can hardly hear it.
it'll come through your channel, the same channel as my voice,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's all because you will be listening to it from my voice.
Yeah.
You know, so but I turned it down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you sort of
I
like.
put on my night vision goggles.
You sort of like go up, and by the time you get to the end of that curve, the forest is getting very close to the road, and you can also hear the river very much up here. And you sort of like get there, and you're way out of any torchlight or anything like that. You do have the moonlight, which means you can actually see where the road is. But actually looking round the corner, it's quite sort of like dark on the actual side of the forest where you are. You can still hear the running water, but that's about it. And there's nothing, you can't see or hear anything.
Okay, I want to just lay down at the side of the road, very still for the next maybe 15, 20 minutes before, and listen for anything. Put my ear to the ground, any hear it, and then hopefully my eyes will have adjusted a lot better to the light by then. Because as you do, if you're still in an area, your eyes do grow accustomed to the light out there, or the lack of light.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll just walk back to the camp.
Yeah, I mean, your eyes do become accustomed to the dark a little bit, but there is a full moon, and it's not even becoming accustomed to the dark. You can't penetrate the darkness of the forest at that point. And you sort of like lie down on the floor and get a bit damp and dirty.
And it's moist.
Yeah, a bit moist. And then it comes to the end of, you realise that your shift must be coming to an end soon.
Oh.
And so you head back, and as you arrive back, the other two guards say, "What was it? Did you find out what it was?"
No, I thought I heard the woman scream over in the distance, but there was nothing. It must have been just my imagination after humping those trees today. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I've been too long in the company of people that I am hearing things.
A woman scream.
Yes,
You heard it.
yes,
Or
I
should I
heard.
say, you heard her?
Yes, I heard the woman scream over the direction. Do you know something?
Sinra, protect us.
But
Sinra.
tell me.
Well, there's a tale of the screaming woman. She was attacked on this very road, and some say she died. Well, she died in quite horrific circumstances. And when the guards are telling you this, they're sort of like looking around as if something's actually going to happen any minute. And they found her body actually hanging from a tree. And when I say hanging, she was impaled on a branch.
No, you are jesting with
No,
me. This is
serious,
some
Mr.
caravan
Hazra.
tale.
No. And it's said that she wails her way through the night, haunting and taking people from the caravans in order to pay back, to take revenge on those caravanners who took her life.
It was caravanners who killed her.
Yes.
Well, then she has the right to kill them.
Yes.
Wasn't
But,
one of you, was it?
Yeah, one of them says, it wasn't me, Hazra. Seriously, it wasn't. And the other one goes, no, it wasn't us.
I have a very long spear here, and I can put you in a tree at any
We
time.
can see your very long spear, Hazra.
Yes, it's cold. It's not that long at the moment.
It's a short spear.
A short spear. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She haunts the trail.
Right. Well, in which case, let us wake up the next watch and inform them of what has happened. And
Yeah,
what has occurred.
and they
Right.
sort of like they actually go to sleep. Sort of like right at the back, away from sort of like the northeast.
The northeast.
And Hengist wakes up for his guard duty. Hazard, whereabouts do you want to sleep?
First, I want to go. Gulliver's disappeared. No.
Hengist, you see two little legs sticking out from underneath the rock. I'm going to think, drat.
I'm going to sleep next to Mr. Barton because that's the safest place to be.
Okay, so just before you go to sleep, Hazra, you go and get some check your traps.
Yes.
And you two things that you notice. One of them, the first thing that you notice is that some of your traps have been successful. So there's a couple of there's a rabbit and a partridge or something like that.
Yes.
In this. The other weird thing is the other traps have been set off, but there's nothing in them.
Ooh.
And you come back, and at that point, before we hit Hengist's watch, it's a good time. Sorry, it's a bit late. I just want to get Hazra's out the way. Yeah, we'll take a 10-minute break there. So if you're watching the stream, then we're going to have a 10-minute break. We will be back straight away. So go off, have a bio break, get your favourite beverage, and come back and watch us in 10. Be right back. Right. We are ready to go.
Dun,
Okay,
dun, dun,
so
dun,
we left the party. Gulliver, Bartleby, and
we are live.
Hazra, yes, we are, have had their watches, and Hazra has just passed over to Hengist for his watch. So, Hengist, what is going to be your plan for your watch?
He's just got sort of like going to be he's going to be very quietly sort of like he's going to stand over this side keeping an eye on the forest, and then part way through the watch he'll wander around over to this side, and he's just going to be not quite doing a full circuit but like walking all the way around all the time, but he's going to walk to one point, pause, spend like 5-10 minutes there, then walk to the next one, 5-10 minutes there, that sort of thing.
Okay then, and are you just sort of like looking out over the area? Is that the plan?
Yeah, and then every so often he's going to glance inside as well, because you never know what could appear from inside of the ring as well. There might be suddenly someone going, "I'm going to go on a murder spree," and you never know.
Okay, so roll your perception check for me.
Nice.
Good grief!
I made a perception roll.
Yeah, and you, your watch is probably the most uneventful of them all. You do notice that the forest is unusually quiet off to the northwest, but it still has the normal everyday sounds. And the two guards who are on watch with you just sort of like sit by the fire and just sort of like stoke it up every now and again. And it's not long after you've taken the watch that actually you notice at the dusk the sun has started to light up the sky as the sun rises. It's quite a dewy and frosty morning, and so it seems to be going to probably be a little bit warmer during the day, but everything seems to be completely quiet. And as your guard duty comes to an end, people start to wake up and move themselves around, and Gulliver comes out from underneath the wagon, and you start to congregate back around the fire. There's water on, and they're impressed by your hunting skills, Hazra, as you seem to have sort of like fried rabbit and offal for lunch, for breakfast, with some dried bread to pull up the fat. Bartleby, could you just roll me a perception roll for me?
Absolutely. Perception.
Yeah, okay then. So you get this feeling that some people are talking about you, and you sort of like almost like hear your name or see them pointing at you, and you sort of like look around, but as they do, they sort of like nod and almost like look the other way, as if you've caught them, but not actually doing anything. They're extremely suspicious acting. They don't seem to be malicious, but you get the feeling that they're definitely talking about you.
Well, that's upsetting. I'm going to try and wake up a little bit more, since I can't wake up until I've had Hengist tea, so I'm going to go get myself a cup of that.
Yeah. So I don't know whether or not Hengist still has his tea making
He
stuff.
hasn't got his tea making kit anymore.
That's why I'm not waking up any of these mornings.
Yeah,
He's been keeping an eye out on Johann's caravan to see if any of the sellers pick up a nice tea set, but he hasn't found one as yet.
Yeah, well, Hazra will see Mr. Battleby moving towards Hengist, trying to get tea, and I'll be like, no!
so
Gulliver wants to politely ask Johann how many more, how much further it is to Aylesford.
yeah, he sort of like looks at you, and he sort of like looks down at you and says, "Well, if you guys don't take a lifetime moving the trunks out the way, we could probably make it in a day and a half, maybe two, depending how well we travel. So another night under the stars before we get there, maybe less.
Gulliver will thank him and then go to packing up the camp with the other people.
Yeah, cool. So it gets to the point that everybody is starting to strike camp, and somebody puts out the fire, and people are sort of like putting their bedding rolls back into the wagons, and tethering the horses to the drive shaft, so to speak, and so like everybody getting ready, and the caravan makes its way back onto the road, a caravan at a time, and then it almost like gets into what seems to be a staggered formation. So caravan is not driving behind caravan, so it's almost like one here, like that. So if one stopped suddenly, there is a bit of a chance. And you sort of like, Hazra, you go back to scouting out ahead. And
I was going to say, before I shoot off, I will have I'll go to Mr. Johan and tell him what I heard last night as well. And say, Mr. Johan, your guards seem quite concerned about this. I thought it was maybe the wind, but I thought I heard a woman scream last night.
Sorry, I just had this sudden urge to play somebody old and hard of hearing and say, "Sorry, you've got wind."
Where's Lady Miko when you know?
Yeah, where is she exactly? He sort of like looks at you and he says, "Oh, don't believe caravan stories used to scare the children, Mr. Hazra."
That's fine. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention just in case you knew something about it. But if you say it's nothing to worry about, then Hazra here will just to go about my business.
Yes, and he says, "One moment," and he passes the reins to Utuk, and he goes into the back and he comes out and he throws two items of clothing. There seem to be a pair of breeches and like a baggy shirt, and he says, "Please have them. You're causing unrest among my caravans." And Darla is quite put out by your manhood.
I'm very sorry. I have this effect on most women.
Yeah,
it's just the way I swing.
Yeah, so you maybe cover yourself up.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
They don't actually provide any armor
no.
value, but it just means that you're no longer naked. And you set off at about 2 hours into the trail. Miss Johan tells you, Hengist, that he would like to talk to Bartleby. And so you toddle off to get Bartleby, and Bartleby, you come up to the front and walk along the side of Johan's caravan, and he sort of like looks around at you and says, "Who would have thought? You're getting quite a reputation among my employees, Mr. Bartleby."
Well, my stories tend to have that effect on some people.
Oh, not only a storyteller, it would appear. It seems.
Kind of a musician too, I guess.
Oh, far from it. It appears that among the caravanners, you have a new title.
Well, what title would that be?
Well, it appears, according to people on watch last night, that you have the ability to talk to wolves and to calm them and send them off into the forest without hurting the caravan. I'm very grateful for this, Mr. Bartleby, and I will rest assured that you have somewhat of a bonus in your wages for this job. I cannot actually grant you this next thing, but it seems that they have talked about it and they are calling you with a new title, Mr. Bartleby. It would appear that you are now Bartleby the Wolf Whisperer.
Well, that's not entirely correct, Johan. It is true that I, in a sense, whispered to the wolf, but...
And hence the name, Wolf Whisperer.
It is truly, though, my goddess who wields the power. I'm merely a tool in her eyes.
Yes, well, Sindra often helps us in these situations, but yes, there was much talk this morning and discussion about your wolf whispering. It's good to have a fine person like you, Mr. Bartleby, protecting our caravan. And like I say, feel free to whisper to any further wolves as it arrives.
I will do my best, certainly. I just want everybody to be safe.
Yes, of course. I completely understand. And the party carries on, and Bartleby, the Wolf Whisperer, returns with Lump Hefting Champions 1 and 2 heading out along the Hengist, you're at the front caravan, and Mr. Hav, so you're further up. Mr. Hazra, could you please make me a survival check?
Ooh, certainly. Oh, I will use a point of luck with that, if you don't mind.
Yes, yes, by all means. So that'll be a 47, yeah. So the caravan stops for general matters throughout the day. So things like, bio breaks, you go off into the forest and pay a visit there. And also you don't stop for lunch, but food is brought around, cold meat and dry bread. And it's just as you're coming to, it begins to get dusk. And Johan is keeping an eye on the forest that seems to be curving in and out like that. And Hengist, you can see that is obviously looking for somewhere to pull in. And Hazra, you actually get to one of these pull-in places before the wagon does, and you suddenly notice that something stands out quite a lot in this area, and there seems to be almost like a disturbance, a subtle disturbance on the left hand side. Just roll a perception roll for me, please.
Certainly.
This is for information you will get. Oh yeah, okay then. So you, using your tracking and your survival and your general perception, you notice that there's quite a large number of cracked branches, tree branches, and downtrodden plants round the roadside.
In a sense,
it's almost. Say again, Si.
Just like a fight happened.
Yeah, as if maybe something emerged from the forest, and there sort of like seems to be quite a disturbance. Just roll a tracking roll for me, please.
Big goblin.
Oh, you're rolling them well tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, so as you have a closer inspection, you sort of like get down and sort of like feel them out. There's definitely sort of like footprints and hoof prints pressed into this almost like the soft soil, and you figure that there was probably the following things in this area. You don't know actually the how they interacted, of course, but you can see that there was definitely a wagon. You could see the tracks. You think there's only one, because it's quite clear that it pulled into here, but you can't see it pulling back out again.
It never left. Right.
There's definitely horse tracks in addition to the wagon ones. So they look like a variety of horses here. You think maybe about 6 in all. You figured the wagon only had 1 though.
These horses came from different directions, or all from one direction?
they definitely came, you think, from the forest. You also notice that there's fragments of hemp rope on the floor, and as mentioned before, a lot of the grass is pushed down, etc. And there's no sign of blood though.
Right. Well, with this information, I will go back to the caravan and, gosh, Mr. Johan, the understanding. I'll explain to Mr. Johan that perhaps, Mr. Johan, this is worth us continuing down the road at night time. I know it is not good for the horses, but this, I've just scouted out the stopping area which I think you intend to use, and there was a big struggle there where many men on horses came and took a caravan from there. There is no signs of the caravan leaving that area, but so it must have gone through the forest, but they seem to have come out to the forest, and yes, maybe were captured. I found signs of
this is most distressing, Mr. Hazra.
I know.
Good job I have my guards with me. And he sort of like looks at Hengist and yourself and Gulliver and Bartleby further down. Hopefully you will be able to prevent us being raided.
To be fair, I think the best preventative is to keep on maybe going through the night.
Oh, no.
If I had armor, I'd be more confident, but I am as you see me.
Yes, if we all had armor, Mr. Haswell, we will have to stop for the night. The horses cannot carry on throughout the evening and night. These are, although they are strong to pull my wagons, they need a rest. But I take your point, Mr. Haswell. Let's go past that area and go for another hour before we try to find a suitable place to camp. Would that be...
I think that would be wonderful, but I also think we should maybe double the watch.
Yes, let's find a safe place to camp out first, shall we?
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Very grateful. Thank you, Johan. You are wise.
Okay, so the caravan carries on moving, and you sort of like file past this place, and Hengist and Gulliver...
As we file past, sorry, I'm going to point out to Johan and said, look, there and there and there, people tracks.
Yeah, and Hengist and Gulliver and Bartleby, you can make your perception rolls now.
Back to my normal self.
Yeah. Everybody. Does anybody want to roll, use luck?
No, thanks.
Gulliver doesn't know.
No?
Nope.
No. Okay then, so you carry on riding past, and it's one of the guards one of the wagon drivers, not the one actually driving the wagon, actually pulls up his wagon and sort of like goes, yo, like that, and everybody stops. And this wagon is almost like right next to the sort of like the clearing when you saw the disturbance. And Johan sort of like turns around and says, Bert, why are we stopping here? It seems rather dangerous. And he says, sir, I can see something in the forest there, sir. In the forest, man? What do you think it is? He says, I don't really know, but I'm going to investigate. And he says, well, be careful. And the co-driver on the second wagon sort of like jumps down and heads through the area, Hazra, where you saw all the stuff, and goes into the forest. And he doesn't go a long way. You can definitely still see him. He's almost like on the tree line. And it's as if something had caught his eye as he passed. And he sort of like comes back with three things in his hands. Two things which are quite just look like material. You figure one of them is some kind of maybe remnants of a bedroll or something like that, and the other you see is like a leather buckle, as if it's been ripped off something. But the most important thing that you see, that this is what caught the eye of the Wagoneer, is that he seems to be holding something that's dangling from his hand on a chain. So imagine he's got a chain and it's looped over and it's dangling there. He hasn't got it on finger, he's got it all. And it seems to be almost like a brass locket on a chain. And he sort of like comes over to the front caravan. So Hazra and Hengist, you're actually there. Gulliver and Bartleby, you can move up there if you wish, or you can stay where you are.
Yeah, as the guard is, as the driver's sort of like going, then Gulliver will go up to see what he's found.
Yeah,
And
so
I'll signal Bartleby, and but Mr. Bartleby, this may interest you.
It does.
yeah, I just need to put a guard on. Oh look, I'll put this guard on. I can't put that guard
Is
on.
it Jason?
Yeah, it was Jason.
Jason, he survived.
But I can't.
Jason Clone 27.
You all have command on it, but I can't seem to drag him on at all.
I can be from anywhere.
Yeah. So okay. So and this is the guard that sort of like one of the Wagoneers that actually found the stuff. And Bartleby, you're quite interested in this golden locket, and you sort of like have a look at it and sort of like take it off him. It seems to be on a brass chain. It's quite well made, but just roll your commerce skill for me, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's quite well made, but it's not. You don't think it'd be worth anything. Some of the soldering is quite crude. But there is a locket, and when I say a locket, it's actually a piece of brass that's been battered down to form a heart shape and has a nail pushed through the top where the chain would be. And the interesting thing that you notice of it is that it has something inscribed on it very crudely, as if it's been done with a whole load of tiny dots, as if somebody's had a screwdriver or some kind of chisel and done it out. And the letters are actually there, and it actually spells a word, and it just says Matilda across it.
Gulliver, we've known of a Matilda before, haven't we? With the rock lizard and Hengist and stabbing it.
Matilda.
Yeah, she owned that property that we went to, the tower.
Oh, yes.
Wonder if it's the same Matilda.
I think there's more than one Matilda on Odis, though.
It seems probable, Gulliver. You might be right. I want to try and open it if I can.
The locket.
I'm going to try and do that, Gulliver.
Was there any engraving?
Yeah,
on it?
no, it just looks like it's a flat piece of brass. It doesn't look. Once you got near to it, as it was coming up, it looked like it was some kind of locket. But when you've actually got close to it, it's actually flat.
Gulliver's going to ask to see it, and he wants to see whether or not there's any engravings on it? You know, like an emblem or anything
No,
like that?
it just seems to be a battered, almost like love heart, and it just has this one word across it that just says Matilda, and that's it.
Gulliver's going to say to the driver, was it just in the forest that you found it?
And he sort of like looks at you and he says, no, he says, just in there. And he sort of like points into the forest.
Gulliver's going to go over and have a look in the area where he
As soon as
pointed.
Hasbro sees Gulliver moving over, he's going to say to Gulliver, my young friend, is it not worth us camping further up road and maybe coming back in the morning and having a look, rather than the light is failing now? Maybe
Gulliver's sort of like going to go up close to Hasbro and say, I don't think Johann's going to let us come back. He seems pretty impatient on us keep going forward, and he keeps talking about getting there as soon as possible. I don't think he'll want to let us backtrack in the morning.
Well, in which case, shall we all go together rather than you alone? Because I know what you are capable of, my friend Gulliver. But one man alone cannot do well. You know, the group is larger if we take Mr. Bartleby and Hengist perhaps with us as well. So we know what we can deal with, whereas these Wagoneers, they do not.
I was just going to go and have a quick look.
Reminds me of a song that.
I could have
One
been.
man all alone.
I could have been back by now.
I know, but let us all go quickly. And then
I know where. There's another Matilda. Hazra?
Really? I don't know Matilda, yes.
I remember because you guys weren't with me. You were across the room getting drunk. My friend Glun. His two best friends, Ducky, Matilda. Matilda was one of them. This might be the Matilda. And if she lost this,
Was this at the last village?
yes, in the Hogstrotters.
I was too drunk to actually see anything.
But if she dropped this, I don't have it in my hand. If she dropped the heart thing, that might mean she's in trouble. We should go quickly.
But Joe, is it worth the Darla here? Didn't Darla? Was it Darla? Your friend Gulliver, little Darla. Did she have any locket or anything?
She's there. Do you want me to ask her?
I think, yeah, it's wise to ask her, because if you saw Matilda with the
Darla, did you have a locket with Matilda written on it?
no, Darla written on it, not Matilda.
Matilda sort of like shouts.
Darla.
Darla shouts back. She goes, "No, but Matilda did."
I see. Thank you, Darla.
And she goes, she's sort of like returned. She's sort of like sat on one of the wagons.
Nothing to see here. Okay, let's go. Let us go into the forest and have a quick look then. We'll follow Mr. Gulliver here.
Yeah, so you sort of like go into the edge of the forest, and yeah, there's definitely several torn, tattered bags, rucksacks, and they're sort of like scattered almost like haphazardly all over the place. It looks as if there's either been a struggle or people have just been thrown there, here, there and everywhere. And yeah, you can definitely see that there's definitely been some kind of disturbance here.
Still no blood.
No blood at all, but Hazra, can you just make a tracking roll for me? Yeah, you do notice that there's drag marks.
Oh, so it's like somebody's been cudgeled, and then like we were.
Yes, and there's definitely whatever it was. There's definitely, from your tracking, you can see that there was two of them, being dragged.
Going back to the twine and knowing what we were bound with, is there any sort of similarities? Because I choose to do that.
The ones that you were tied up with in the Prisoner of the Vipers was more fine, and it was a lot of it was actually almost like silk cloth, if you remember.
Right, yeah,
this
right.
is definitely hemp rope. Sorry.
Right.
It's quite rough, but you figure one of the dragging things from your tracking roll, one of the sort of like dragging is a lot bigger than the other one, and you come to the conclusion that it's probably a man and a woman.
Yeah. So
Gulliver's going to say to Hazra as he sees him looking on the floor, he's going to say, "What do you see, Hazra?"
Well, I see two people here. There's a heavy person and the lighter person being dragged. You can see the heels here in the dirt.
Dragged by what?
I don't know. I mean, I can.
Was it a beast?
I don't know. I can't see the tracks. Can I perhaps have a look for the tracks?
You can't. It looks like whatever was doing the dragging was stood directly in front of the drag.
So it's covering the tracks as it's being dragged.
Yeah, yes. You figure whoever's done it has actually known what they were doing, although they've probably left a track. Although Bartleby, Hengist and Gulliver, it just looks like a whole load of confusion to you. You know, it's only...
Gulliver's just sort of like going to look at it and say, how long ago do you think it happened?
I don't know.
Days or weeks or hours?
I will have a look at the moisture, see, because the problem is it's night time and the dew is...
Yeah, I'm quite happy for it to come off that tracking roll that you had. You figure about any time between 2 and 4 days ago, which Bartleby would tie into the Matilda and her... I forget his name.
I have it written down as Dake, and I don't know if that's a name, but it's Glun's brother.
Yeah, it's Dake, and it's Daek. Yeah, Dake, and his sister-in-law Matilda, who Glun had a bit of a caring for.
He called her his best friend, but
we all do.
If they were dragged off by animals, would they have not have probably killed them first? Would there not be blood?
Yes, this is not animals, because they would have killed. You were right, Gulliver. They would have killed first and then dragged them away to the lair to eat. But this is somebody or something carrying them backwards. If you look here and here on the ground, you can see a slight, where the heel is dragging through the ground. You can see a slight. Disfiguration of the soil, where maybe the footprint was of something that was carrying backwards.
Could you all make perception rolls, please?
Clearly not.
So Bartleby has...
got standard.
Hazra has, and Hengist and Gulliver haven't. Do you wish to roll luck and reverse yours, Gulliver?
Okay. What, make it?
Oh, I did. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at Gulliver's.
Gulliver got 2 fat ladies.
Yeah.
So Hazra and Bartleby, you hear something behind you, and as you turn round, you notice that Johan and Uttuk has sort of like come over to the clearing with you, and they're sort of like saying, Johan says, I thought we needed to press on and stop before nightfall.
We did, Johan, but Master Gulliver here has discovered, and like your guard has, or one of your wagoners, something amiss here, and we think it was perhaps from a young girl or young lady from the village we have just left. So we are just seeing exactly what has happened, because there is a sign of a struggle here, but there is no blood. And the people who have been taken were a lighter person and the heavier person, and they were dragged in this direction. You can see
We probably have no commitment to them, Mr. Azra. We can probably get back on the wagon and head off and find a suitable place to camp for the night.
Well, I agree. I mean, perhaps maybe if you wish to go, maybe 45 minutes or an hour down the road, and we shall press on here and have a quick look.
Yeah, you figure
Because
there's
if
about...
somebody in danger, you can't just leave them. It's not the way I was raised by my father or my mother.
So you figure there's probably about 2 or 3 hours before nightfall, and then you won't be able to see at all.
So if you move an hour up the track, we can have a quick, maybe an hour search here, and that will give us time to catch up with you before nightfall fully hits.
Okay, so
Could we not just make camp here?
Well, I wouldn't want to make camp at the sign of an attack because, well, it's your call, but I think it would be bad.
Well, he says it seems to be no matter where we make camp, it looks like my guards are going to be going off into the forest. So I think it's probably better to make camp here rather than going into some unexplored area.
In which case, I bow to your wisdom. I'm not a wagoneer. I do not know these things.
I know. He says, let Syndra decide, and he takes out his faithful coin. Goes,
can I say heads? I win and tails you lose.
He just sort of like ignores you. Do you know what I thought you were going to do? Is say, I'll wait until he tosses the coin, and as it comes back, I go.
Yeah, I was tempted to catch it.
That would have whoever and I was just like, right, yeah, roll your reaction. I think that would be. It's a bit like.
So cool.
Is it it's the first Indiana Jones film when they put poison on the dates?
Oh yes, he catches it before
and he
eats
throws the date up,
yeah.
and he's going like that, and he goes. And he says, and he looks at the monkey who's dead and says,
Yes,
bad date.
The one-liners.
Has anybody seen Ready Player One, by the way?
Yes, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm listening to the book, and I mean, he's just up to the war game part. I keep reading the book. I'm listening to the book and think it's bringing back memories of things like the Tomb of Horrors and everything like that.
So many. There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so much.
So many throwbacks.
Yeah.
On the same note, if you get to watch Future Man, watch it.
Okay, well, I'm going to. Oh, I'm meant to move Gulliver. So, the I forgot his name. Johan. Sort of like flicks the coin up in the air and turns it upside down. He says, Syndra says we should stay here for the night. Much better place to camp out. And there's sort of like mutterings going on, and you almost like get the sense that there's a bit of unrest among the caravanners. They're all sort of like looking out, and they've also overheard your story. And yeah, so what would you four like to do?
I'm going to build I'm going to get some wood and make a square like a placard, and I want to put "Hell no, we won't stay."
So now you've got 2 hours left of darkness, but you do.
Slight problem, Hazra. I didn't think you could write.
I can't write.
Yeah. He's got
squiggles.
this placard, and he's up above his head, and there's just an hour saying "total idiot."
I'm an idiot. Follow me.
Yeah. So what do you four like to do?
Are there any? Is there any lantern or torch that we could take from the?
Yeah. Well, Bartleby has his burnt out torch. If he wishes to light that, but there's probably a lantern or two that you can take if you would like to.
Yeah, we'll ask Johan if we can. We'll say that we hopefully should be back before it's dark. But just
So who's are you taking? 4 lanterns, 2, 3, or what?
I don't want a lantern.
Okay.
I've got my spear in
Gulliver
one
will
hand.
take one, but he won't have it lit because
Okay.
there's still a couple of hours before dark, is there? But if you
Yeah,
can get
about
a
3 hours.
lantern, a full lantern, and maybe a tinder box.
Yeah. Anybody else wish to carry a lantern?
I'll take
hang-
one.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Did you want one as well, Hengers?
No, Hengist is.
Okay then. So you can head off into the forest.
Into the woods. No, sorry.
Yeah. So tell me what you wish to do.
Hazra wants to follow the furrows that have been made by the heels dragging, and literally just keep tracking those.
So you just want to keep tracking the
Yeah,
path into the
Yes.
where the,
Unless Gulliver has other ideas, or Mr. Bartleby has other ideas. But I think that if we're doing what we're doing, we need to find out where these people have been taken, so we follow the tracks. That's my view.
Yeah.
Okay then, hang on just 1 second, and I will move you over to your map. Now, just to let you know, when you see this map, it's not a whole load of. It looks a bit weird, but it'll make sense once you'll probably be able to understand what it is that you're seeing. Let me just copy you across. Paste you on. And then I will move you across. You see it?
Yes.
We
Are
thought
they
goblins.
cut down trees?
So yeah, so these are not chopped down trees. They do go up and they form a canopy above you. So none of them are sort of like chopped down. It's just showing you where the trees are and the how thick they are. There's some shadows on there as well for you, just to make it a little bit realistic. Yeah. So the tracks, Hazra, just so you know, I'm going to put on like a marker. Just to show where they actually go. Okay, so that's the direction that they're heading off in.
Okay. Well, I'll be following these, but in the same time, I'll be watching the bushes around. Well, would I be? No, I wouldn't be. I'd be following I'd be more like the drags come this way. Follow me.
Okay.
Moving along.
I'm just putting you there as a halfway point. Can you remember where the track went? Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I'm going to take that the line off. How's the rest of you proceeding?
Gulliver will follow.
Yeah. Ideally, keeping Hengist behind me to guard.
Okay.
I'm scared.
As you start to walk deeper and deeper into the forest, the almost like the atmosphere starts to change somewhat, and you only think that you've been walking about an hour, but you almost like feel it's too dark for an hour. It's almost like it's getting darker too quickly. And Hazra, you sort of like are used to being out on the plains, and you haven't seen this phenomena before, and it's almost because of the canopy. It's making in here seems a lot darker than it is. And Bartleby and Gulliver, one of you or both of you probably need to draw your light your lantern pretty soon. And but you sort of like carry on walking, and then I need you, Hazra, I need you to roll me a perception roll. Coming to the end of about the first hour, you're not too sure, but you almost like hear, you know, that scream that you heard before. You hear it again, and it's quite muffled. It almost as if either there's a hand loosely over the mouth, or maybe a gag or something like that, but you definitely hear it. Gulliver, Bartleby and Hengist, you don't hear anything at all. You don't notice anything.
I will look. I will over my shoulder. I'll go. Did you hear the scream of the girl? Did you hear it? It's up ahead. I'm assuming it's coming from north.
Yeah, it's coming from deep with in the forest somewhere.
Quick, we must hurry. It seems like these wicked people or things are having their way with the caravan people. Let's quickly move. And then I will press on.
Roll your survival skill for me. So the rest of you, is the plan just to follow Hazra? You figure it's definitely muffled, but you think it's about maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes away.
Sound carries in the forest. It bounces off the trees.
Yeah, I mean, if Hazra all of a sudden sort of like sets off at a jog
pace,
into the forest, then yeah, I mean, Gulliver's going to follow him. Although if it's getting dark, he's a bit uncertain because the footing's going to be a bit difficult, and he's not going to be the most silent person ever. But yeah, he'll follow.
Okay, so you you sort of like probably going a little bit quicker. Is that the
yes, yeah.
Something that you you sort of like, is it? Are you going as a jog now then?
No, it's like a fast march as such, but a very you'd never run through a forest, so it's more of a quick pace.
I'd run through a forest.
Would you? I'd run naked through a field, but anyway.
I run through fields of wheat, but
you know, one of those like I do every day in my job, where you constantly walk at a fast.
Oh yeah, okay then. So you're moving at a brisk walk rather than running, and yeah, it's very wise to do this, Hazra, because of the roots and things like that. So the rest of you just following on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we're trusting Hazra at the moment. This is his domain.
That's absolutely fine. Bartleby, I sent you a message about something in Discord that you can see. So you sort of like almost like pick up the pace and sort of like start heading back into the further into the forest. I'm just going to move you to here.
Any chance I could investigate the subject of that message?
What would you like to know about it? You can type it to me.
I guess whatever it is that dropped and landed, I'd like to use my fingers to try and pull off. I'll put away my torch club in my belt, so I have a free hand to try and pick it off and investigate whatever it is that fell on him. Is it organic?
It's some kind of liquid. It's quite. It's not it's not freezing cold, but it's not warm. It's quite viscous between your fingers, and as you sort of like look at it in your fingers and sort of like rub it, the torchlight shines on it, and it doesn't take a roll to figure out what it is. You recognize it straight away because you've been around this for many times. It's definitely blood.
Well, then I'm going to let out a fairly indignant scream right behind Goalie and say, you've got viscous on you, Oliver.
You've got what on me?
I show that my bloody fingers. You've got viscous.
Yeah, you can see that Bartleby has blood smeared over his 2 fingers and thumb as if he's been rubbing it to decide what it is.
Look up. I want to look up. I want to point my face upwards.
But as he's doing that, Gulliver's sort of like trying to look at his back, but just sort of like going.
Yeah, you notice that something on your shoulder. There's like a drop that has now been taken off a bit by Bartleby, and the rest of it has sort of like seeped into your tunic or whatever's there, and you can see there's sort of like a blood stain there, as if quite a substantial drip of blood has fallen down. You obviously didn't feel it. Bartleby saw it from behind.
Gulliver's going to look up as well.
Where you, Bartleby, you all look up here, but you can't see anything, and this is not where it dropped. You weren't here when it dropped. You were here.
What has happened? Let's move back and see. I'm concerned about this scream up ahead, but Mr. Hengist, Mr. Bartleby, go back a ways and just have a quick look, and let's all go back. Sorry, I'm being indecisive.
That was so funny. It was Hengist and Bartleby go back, and Gulliver, no, we'll all go. Don't leave me alone with spooky magician Gulliver.
He has something in his possession I do not like.
Okay, so you come back to this is where it first dropped, and you look up into the canopy, and it's at this point that you see something. It's quite high up, and it seems to be attached to one of the branches, and it seems to be a body.
Tall Squall rated my stream with 15 viewers.
Oh, hi, Tall Squall. Welcome. We just got to the exciting bit, and then I heard Tall Squall rated my thing.
Yay!
Yay!
When it says attached to a branch, is it a long branch? Is it a short, stubby branch it's been thrusted onto, or is it something that a branch has picked up and? Oh, I don't know.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so you look up into the canopy, and there's quite a main trunk of a chunk of a branch, so it's quite broad, and then imagine another branch has come off it, and this body has been almost like impaled onto it. It's definitely gone through the back near the ribs and probably come out. It's not through the sternum. It's sort of like lopsided. From where you are here, you can definitely tell that it's quite beefy. You don't think it's a woman. It's got its clothes on and everything. Bartleby, can you make an evade roll, please?
Absolutely. Oh. Okay. I used my last point of luck to re-roll it.
Okay then.
I'm not gonna get impaled today. Gonna re-roll.
Evil Dead. Oh! Amriel.
Excellent.
Amriel.
Yeah. So Amriel's definitely looking down for you, and as you're sort of like looking up towards it, you suddenly notice coming down to you seems to be another drop of blood. And as you actually stood there and it comes down, you suddenly see it, and you manage to move out the way as it just sort of like blobs down onto the floor. There's definitely an impaled body up there. What would you like to do?
Gulliver wants to have a look on the floor to see how much blood is on the floor.
It seems to be, there doesn't seem to be a lot of blood here at all. There's really droplets of it now and again. You don't think roll your first aid or medicine. Do you wish to look it?
No.
No. Okay then. So you don't think the majority of the blood has exited the body here? Definitely not. There's not enough of it.
How high up is it? Is it within climbing distance?
Yeah, well, everything's in climbing distance.
If you can climb.
Yeah, you would have to climb up. You don't think you could actually? You can't reach it.
I'm going to touch Gulliver's shoulder and see.
The bloody shoulder or the other one?
Sorry?
The bloody one or the other one?
The other one.
Okay.
And the left one. I'll be like, Gulliver, I know this is. We know where these bodies are. Let us move on to where the scream came from, which was up ahead. At least that way we know one is still alive, perhaps. This is a safe one. That's
Hengus,
do we know who it is?
Hengus,
It's a woman's scream, I heard.
Hengus, you're sort of like there looking up, and you suddenly notice that you can see another one, and it's actually from this tree, and it's actually sort of like, if I put a cross on where they are up in the branches, so there's like one here. That was the one that dripped blood, and there's definitely one over there, and that also looks like a male. It's definitely not female.
2 males then?
2 males.
2 males, yeah.
Okay.
And they look quite beefy. They look quite.
Good. They sound very skinny.
Yeah, they don't look like shopkeepers. They look quite muscly.
Are they dressed the same? Can we?
Yeah, good question. The one above you is dressed in what appears to be just sort of like shirt and breeches and boots. The one over that Hengus has seen is definitely not. It seems to be wearing some kind of armor. You can actually see the buckles of the breastplate. It's not a breastplate, but as in a metal one, but the breast armor. You can see your torchlight, the lanterns or the moonlight or whatever is glinting off the of the buckles.
And they've both been impaled on branches.
Yeah, they're both quite limp, head sort of like looking down, and this one looks like it's been impaled probably further down than the other one, so almost like coming through the back and out just below the solar plexus.
But they're what, sort of like 10, 20? How many feet above the ground are they?
Do you need the exact amount?
No, I'm just it's not as if something's that they're not sort of like, that they're. I'm just trying to judge if something had actually picked them up and impaled them on the branch, how big would it have been?
A lot bigger than you guys.
Can I just say, if I see 3 red dots on anybody, I'm out of here.
You figure it would have to be almost like maybe giant size, or some kind of entity that doesn't actually have to, who can maybe float or fly up there?
I'm going to go to Mr. Bartleby before we head out again, which I want to head out. I'm going to say, Mr. Bartleby, is there anything you know of? You are a very well-read man. Is there anything you know in your monster history about anything that could do this?
My best guess would be a giant, though as to why... Oh, well, it's probably they're saving them for later as snacks. Ground animals like a bear wouldn't be able to get these snacks from the trees the giants are saving.
Wouldn't Hasra seen big footprints if it was giants?
This is true.
Bartleby,
Why would
do
they
you
drag
want
them
to
away on the
roll
ground?
your monster roll for me, please?
I'd love to.
Maybe something climbed up the trees and put them up there. Are there any markings on the trees, Hasra? Like claw marks or...
Have I seen any claw marks on the trees?
You can go over to one if you wish.
I will go over to a tree and I
You
will
choose your tree then.
I will choose tree number 1, which is the one here, the closest one to me.
No, that's not a tree.
Oh,
These are trees.
tree number 1. Which,
Yeah,
there,
so move yourself down there. And just when you get there, just roll a perception. Mr. Bartleby, you suddenly remember. Do you wish to look that?
I have no chance of looking that because I have no luck
You
left.
have no luck left. Okay.
No.
So, Mr. Bartleby, when you sort of like Gulliver's asking you these questions, and you sort of like thinking about giants and things like that, you suddenly remember about a story of that you always thought was used to scare children to bed, and especially if they lived in forests like this. And it's the story of what's called a shrike. And you actually know that there's a bird called a shrike that is actually nicknamed the butcher bird because it actually impales its food onto thorns, and they hang there and it comes back and eats them like carrion over a period of time. And the spirit, because that's what it is, a spirit called a shrike, tends to be almost like a hostile spirit rather than a monster that has died in very suspicious ways or violent ways or dramatic ways that actually come back to wreak revenge on. And in order to demonstrate that he's been successful in wreaking revenge, it does like the shrike does and hangs its victims to branches of trees. Hasra, there's no markings on this tree at all.
Oh, Mr. Gulliver, there's nothing on this tree.
However, you do see over here, high up in the trees, there's another body. It's definitely a male, and it's actually dressed the same as this one.
So God, I have a theory. Maybe, but I just screaming the story of what the guard told me the other night. Maybe these 3 men tried to kidnap and kill this, or rape or whatever this girl who was on this caravan, and they were dragging her this way, and something came and killed the men who were attacking the woman. That is my theory.
I don't think.
What story?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was told a story from the guard about a ghost, a woman who haunts this area, who was horribly butchered by men, who then pinned her to a tree with a spear. And I didn't believe it at first, but now seeing these men pinned to a tree, And after seeing what we saw in the swamp we went through to get to the mountain, the undead wandering there, and after not dying properly and being lost in limbo, just to wander the earth, that maybe this woman here, this ghost, is possibly true. I've seen many strange things since I met you, and I'm now starting to realize that there's a whole stranger world out there.
But if you think of what Artaby said and the story that what the guards told you, it would seem that what was it? A shriek? Did you say, Artaby?
Shrek.
A Shrek?
Yeah, Fiona.
A
shriek?
Yes.
Donkey.
Well,
you all
to me it would seem that maybe that's what's killing it, and maybe Matilda's still alive because it's almost like reenacting what happened to it, and it's trying to save her.
You suddenly notice, all four of you, that the temperature in this general area has suddenly dropped. It's suddenly immensely cold. It's almost as if something or someone has sucked the warmth out of this area, and you feel it instantly. The sudden drop of temperature is so marked that you suddenly almost like, start to shiver or rub your arms because it's so cold, and out of your mouths, as the air comes out of your mouth, you can now see it in this sort of like mist-like, smoke-like, in the cold air.
Gulliver's going to reach into his tunic and take out the symbol of Fladnag, the one that he uses to cast his more powerful sorcery spells not related to the Order of the Kraken, and he's almost like going to start sort of like going round in circles, sort of like looking between the trees, but also keeping an eye, almost like looking upwards rather than, where a normal person walking would come through. He's more concerned of what's going to come down from the canopy.
So you're looking up rather.
He's looking up, and he's almost like holding this symbol out as he sort of like, swivels round on his feet, sort of like keeping an eye out.
Okay. Yeah.
As we're more interested in, we must save the girl. It's important. We must save the girl. Let's push forward and move away from this area.
Hengist.
Angus is just sort of keeping an eye out, just sort of like in general, sort of like up and around and that sort of thing.
Okay. And Bartleby.
Gonna get nervous and go over to Gulliver and begin to pray for him, if I may.
Yes.
I would like to pray that if he is impaled, it shall not be effective.
Okay, cool.
And I'm shivering a lot.
Yeah. You can't you go over, and Gulliver, as you stood there looking around, and Hengist is stood there hanging around, and Hazra is talking to you, Bartleby stretches out his hand, and he just sort of like touches you, but you feel his hand shaking, and he seems to be trying to utter some kind of a prayer, but the voice comes out all sort of like stuttery, and you can't tell what he's even saying. And I would like you, all four of you, please, to make willpower rolls.
Can I roll something else that's higher?
No.
Oh, if I had luck, I would have made it if I had luck.
So Hengist, yes. Hazra, no. Gulliver, yes. And Bartleby, no. Does anybody have luck or would like to roll luck?
No.
No.
Okay then, so let me just write this down. Hazra dead.
Hazra Eslet the Fiend. The game, it is Le Fiend.
Bartleby dead.
Lost 4d20 sanity points.
Yep.
Okay, so as
Take
you
my
sort of
other
like stood round, and you, Gulliver, you hear Bartleby's hand, feel his hand on your shoulder, and trying to utter some words, and you notice that the temperature suddenly drops yet again, and you notice as you all are looking around that from this direction seems to float towards you. It looks like the ghostly figure of what appears to be a woman. She's carrying no weapons at all, and she appears to be in a long white night dress. Yeah, and that's it. It's slightly open at the top, and her frame is really sort of like weak and thin, and her hair is pure white, and it's slowly writhing behind her, and she comes towards you, and she, at first you think she's walking, but you notice that the bushes in front of you, she just seems to glide through them, and she actually stops. Let me just put it on for you.
This is so like the start of Ghostbusters.
I just need to find her. There we go.
Oh.
Oh, we met her in Shadow.
Yeah, and she sort of like starts to float towards you, and you all look at her, and she seems intensely beautiful, and even though she's almost like translucent, you just longing to sort of like look at her, and you seem to be completely mesmerized by her approach, and you're not too sure. You can almost hear what appears to be almost like a soft singing, a very melodic tune, and you realize that it's coming from her. And as she gets to this position here, she suddenly lets out an almighty scream, and Hazra, you recognize it as the scream that you've heard twice before.
Yes.
And as she screams, it's as if the skin from her face suddenly decays, and she loses this wonderful beauty that she has, and her hands become bony and gnarled and twisted like branches of a tree, and her skin sort of like sags and sort of like almost like in pieces fall off, and you can see through her cheeks to the jaw, and her eyes just disappear, just leaving two empty sockets. And as she lets out this humongous scream, Hazra and Bartleby, you watch dumbfounded for 1 second, thinking that time around you has actually stopped, and then when the scream hits you, you do the one and only sensible thing after seeing this monstrosity. You turn
Like a loon.
and you run. And what's your movement, Hazra?
Oh, gosh. My movement is running or sprinting.
Running.
21.
21. So you are now it's
Off the screen.
yeah, it's actually, just so you know, it's about 13 meters up to there. So 21, did you say?
Yep.
So I'm putting in your red circle, so that's 13, 7, 8. So you're actually 8 meters off the map.
Yeah, I'm doing a forest.
And Bartleby, What's your movement?
My run is a 17.
17. So you're turning and running this way. Oops. So it's 6 meters to there. We'll say 7 meters to there. So you are 10 meters off the map that way. And can you please roll? Can everybody roll initiative so you're all on my tracker straight away? Just wait till I clear it because you're still on it from last time. Yeah, go for it. Well done, Bartleby. That's good.
Thanks.
You're not normally up on the top. You're normally down at the bottom.
And Gulliver too.
Let me just add this.
Which doesn't bode well for us warriors.
Yeah. So at the start of this combat, she has done her scream. So Bartleby and Hazri, you've almost like had an interrupt action, and it's affected you straight away. So you will be off. Gulliver and Hengist, although you're quite disgusted at the look of this person, you've obviously, had worse looking girlfriends, and you're quite there. And sort of like
Gulliver's never had a
She's got a heartbeat. Oh no, she hasn't.
It's her bare feet that they can see underneath the nightdress.
Oh yes.
And she sort of like stops, and we will leave it there until next week.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, we will leave it to next week. And so the combat is set up. Just to remind you, Hazra and Bartleby, you are running. So
as I run away, can I go meet me?
Yes, you can do whatever you do. You'll probably go
Ah!
and somebody in the background is going, Cassie gets away, running for another day. Down the road.
The funny thing is, when the fear wears off, I'll keep running.
Oh,
they will never know.
Yeah. Sorry. There was one thing. Oh no, I'll wait till next time. Because do you want to, I can probably do it.
No, do it.
I'll do it now. Can you please multiply your dex by 5? Yeah, and then roll it and just tell me if you get under it.
Is this to see whether or not they fall over a branch?
65.
No.
And then that would be.
So what's yours, Hazra?
Mine's 65. Oh, look at that! I am awesome at just getting slightly under, apart from the willpower.
Yeah, you keep hold of anything that's in your hands.
Yeah, because I'm good.
Yeah. And Mr. Bartleby?
My dexterity is 7 times 5 is a 35. Let's give it a roll. See if I lose my lantern. That's not mine.
You keep hold of your lantern, so you just sort of like turn and run. And we will leave it there and start back tomorrow. Sorry, not tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Next Saturday at the beginning of the combat with Bartleby and Hengist, fighter and healer, dashing off into the down the forest with only Hengist and Gulliver to brave the the spirit that has arrived, which is definitely called a Shrike. And we will leave it there until next time. So let's go. I need to remember not to get rid of that order. Don't let me get rid of that order, whatever you do.
Screenshot.
Well, I can always look at
It's gone on now.
Gulliver.
Yeah, no, I've just
Bartleby.
I've just I see it again. When if you double click the title, I don't know whether or not you can do this, but I can double click the title and it goes down into a semi-transparent view.
Yeah, it doesn't on my. It just goes transparent and nothing else.
Yeah.
Or combat turn 1 maybe.
It sort of like shrinks it down so I can have a. So when I'm doing monsters, I double click them and they shrink up to the top of the page, and then I just double click it and it'll open it up for me again. So yeah, so well done. You got to rather a sticky situation. It'd be interesting what actually happens. Anything that anybody would like, any announcements that anybody would like to
Yes,
say?
I don't be stuck in a tree on a spike.
It's all right. You and Bartleby
It's
are fine.
Yeah.
Because you've run off.
They might have run off and run up a tree and spike themselves.
There's two people left.
We'll be fine.
We'll be
Fine.
Don't worry,
Have
Gulliver.
an aspirin,
Hengist is with
fine in
you.
the morning.
Hengist is with you.
He won't kill me. He knows how long it takes me to make up a new character. He wouldn't be playing again until Christmas.
Yes.
That might be my plan, though. Have you ever thought about it? So if you're interested to see what happens next in the Odes campaign, then please join us next week at 7:00 BST time. If you're interested in catching up on any of the past adventures, or you missed any of tonight's, then please do remember you can catch up with them all on my website, which is inwills.co.uk. They are up on YouTube, so if you don't want to ever miss one, then either subscribe to the website or to YouTube, and you'll be able to catch up with them then. I will be back tomorrow at 2:00 in the afternoon, 1400 hours. Thanks, Ryan, and to play with some more
Ryan.
Elder Scrolls as British Summertime, Real Robot Ranger, British Summertime. So what's the time now? It's sort of like
20 past 8.
so it's
20 past 8, 20 past 10, sorry.
20 past 10. So it's like 8 hours ago. That's when I start to stream. And if you just want to know when I'm streaming, then you can always press the follow button, and so you'll get that alert. So so we'll be back later, and until then I'd just like to say to each and every one of you, please remember to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, and I'll catch you all later, and until then we'd just like to say happy gaming. Catch you all later. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. That's my stupid.